For the 54th time, drivers, teams, and race fans, they converge at New Smyrna Speedway for the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. Tonight marks night number 1 of 9 straight nights of great racing action at the corner of 44 and Tomoka Farms Road in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Along with Alan Dietz, this is Adam Mackey, and we're set to bring you all of the action on trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. On pit road, Alan, you see the Sportsman cars lining up for the first of a countless number of features that we will see over the next 9 nights.
Yeah, Adam, I'm really excited to be here. It's my first time here at the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. First time I've been here to New Smyrna Speedway since back in 2011. And we've got a big night of racing action for the folks here watching on trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. These Sportsman cars, they'll go for 30 laps, 35 laps for the super late models. Pro lates will go for 35 laps. Florida modifieds, not the tour type modifieds, the Florida modifieds will go for 35 laps. And then we'll wind it up with your favorite division of all of Speed Weeks, the Bombers.
Did you see that cool interior on our Sportsman car? They had the lights lit up. They're ready to go. It'll look cool under the lights out there. During our first feature of the week, a 30-lap grind for the Sportsman division, and a number of races for the Sportsman on tap this week. A great field of cars on hand tonight. It's going to be, I believe, our biggest field of cars in any of our features tonight. And then tomorrow night, their big special event, the Wheelman Series, joining us for a points event for the Wheelman Series, a 50-lap feature event.
And you know, for years, probably for at least the last 20 years, especially in pavement racing down in Florida, rules have kind of been all over the place with different racetracks and series. But now you're starting to see more consolidation, and this Sportsman Series is a perfect example. Wheelman Series started by Steve Dorr a couple of years ago. We've seen this track here at New Smyrna Speedway adopt these rules. Five Flag Speedway has adopted these rules, and that Wheelman Series to race here tomorrow night is going to be unbelievable. But I think we're going to see a pretty doggone good one there tonight. You saw that 07 car, Jeff Schofield. I mean, there's some really good drivers that folks down here in Florida know very well.
You mentioned Jeff Schofield. He's a former champion at the World Series in super late model competition. In 2007, he was the champion in super late model action. You see some of the Sportsman cars up and down pit road, the look inside the interior, the anticipation for these drivers to get started for the 2020 edition, the 54th running of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. You know what? The coolest night I believe we're going to have all week long. For weather conditions, a very nice forecast over the next 9 nights after some storms moved through during the late hours last night. And you see the folks bundled up a little bit tonight for Florida. For those that are used to Florida weather, this a little bit chilly this evening.
Yeah, I think I looked. It's about 55 degrees tonight, but it's been really windy today. Very serious front came through the southeast. Back where I live at in Charlotte, some tornadoes touched down, a lot of flooding. And that front came here through Florida as well late last night. Tonight and tomorrow night are going to be the coolest of the week, and really and honestly from about Sunday all the way to the Daytona 500 on February 16th, it's just going to get better and better and better every day and every night here at New Smyrna.
Right about the time we start our first race here tonight, 54 degrees, our temperature, 54 the temperature. Eddie Chu, CRA Tech Inspector, working the World Series here in 2020. Lead Tech Inspector for this week, and checking that final look at the lineups as he looks up and down pit road, as Eddie Chu will handle things from the infield. Glenn Luckett, the race director for the 2020 World Series, longtime Champion Racing Association race director.
Yeah, many of the ARCA CRA Super Series folks are down here this weekend officiating, and they've been really busy. You know, we had a full day of practice here yesterday, and you were commenting a little bit earlier just about how many trailers that we see not only here in the inside parking the pit area, but also out in the outside pit area. And we've still got a lot of tour type modifieds that are going to come in, race for the first time on Monday night, and the ARCA Menard Series haulers, which I believe will start coming in on Sunday.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of drivers parking out in the grass coming up the next couple of days. The outside pits, the infield pits, they're jam-packed with a great field of race cars. And tonight we have 5 divisions ready to go. Sportsman just about to roll off pit road and onto this half-mile track for a 30-lap feature to get us started. Super late models a 35-lap grind. The pro lates at 35, modifieds at 35, and the bombers scheduled to run 20 laps tonight. These Sportsman cars, very similar to the look of the outlaw late models from the Midwest, from Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, but the cars are a little bit different. More of a stock-type car underneath. The body's an outlaw look that, you know, if you're not familiar with the late model racing and outlaw cars in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, you might think a little bit like the wedge bodies that you see on the Lucas Oil Late Model Tour, or on the World of Outlaw Late Model Tour when it comes to the wedge-type bodies. But these cars are fun to watch. They put on a good show, and over the last few years, we've seen a number of these drivers, guys like the 407 of Jason Vale, at times be pretty dominant, had 3 wins a year ago at New Smyrna Speedway. There's a look in the pits at a couple of the other divisions. We see the Florida Modified there on the left, the red car, and to the right, the 35 of Jake Garcia, an up-and-coming super late model driver, a young driver, a teenage star that finished second in this past year's Snowball Derby.
See these drivers ready to go, ready to literally kick off the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing here for 2020, a new decade at New Smyrna Speedway, and new venture here for NASCAR and the folks with trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. So glad that you are joining us here, not only tonight, but you're going to be with us all the way through Saturday night, February 15th, including the ARCA Menard Series East race on Monday, and the Tour Type Modified, Super Late Models, all those big main events next week. And the best thing is, watching here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold, if you like what you see tonight and you like what you see the rest of next week, you're going to really like 2020, because all the ARCA Menard Series East and West races, along with the Wheeling Modified Tour races, will be on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold.
Ralph Miller, chief starter at New Smyrna Speedway, back up on top of the starter stand as he waves the yellow over this field of cars, a field of 20-plus. For the first feature of the week, you see the front row starters, Earl Beckner and Brandon Morris. Earl Beckner out of Apopka, Florida. He was third in the Wheelman Series in 2019, and he starts on the inside of row number 1, the pole position. He was second quick in qualifying the invert. They do inverts here at New Smyrna Speedway every night to put the faster qualifier usually a little further back in the field. Well, Brandon Morris, the top qualifier in the 56, he was lucky. He drew the number 2, puts himself on the outside of the front row, so a small invert for this race tonight. The other features that we'll see later tonight, not quite the case. A little larger for those races.
Bobby Orr in that car number 30 inside of row number 2. Veteran family of racers here out of Florida. The car number 9 out of Zephyr Hills, Florida, Brooke Storer. That is a very talented young lady. This is her first World Series appearance. She finished 6th in Wheelman points, but had a couple of Sportsman wins here at New Smyrna in 2019.
Our third row is going to be made up of Colton Bramlett out of St. Cloud, Florida, a Wheelman regular. John Grimm driving the 59 car. John Grimm out of Sefner, Florida. It was Jake Perkins practicing, I believe, for most of the afternoon. Then John Grimm jumped in it, put a pretty good qualifying lap on the board.
Chad Rutherford in the car number 2 will start inside of row number 7. Alongside will be in the 7th starting position. Alongside will be the car number 8 of Jesse Henley. Jeff Schofield, we talked about him, a veteran super late model racer out of Plant City, Florida, and Tim Sozio from DeBerry, Florida. He'll round out the top 10 starters.
Starting 11th, Rex Struble out of Crystal River, Florida, second in the Wheelman points in 2019. Jason Vale, the 407. We're going to keep our eyes on that car starting from the 12th position. He's usually one of the favorites to win here at New Smyrna Speedway.
And we've seen Jason Vale do very well wherever he runs at. If we see him at Five Flags Speedway during the Snowball Derby weekend, as well as at some of these shorter tracks over in Central and Western Florida. Timmy Todd out of St. Cloud, Florida. He'll start back in 13th. Back behind him is the 14th of Adam Briggs. He's from Lakeland, Florida. And the 15 of Dylan Civils from Beverly Hills, Florida.
Joe Winchell out of Dade City, Florida, starts the number 92 car in 16th. Kevin Macy, Winter Haven, Florida driver, starts the 19 and 17th position. Rounding out our field, final 4 starters, Joe Hamilton in the 10, Brighton Privat in the 5, and then Daniel Webster in the 5W and Scott Garrity in the 07. The crowd, you know what they're anticipating? They're anticipating the start of a race, and we're about a lap away from that, as I think the 1-to-go signal is going to be given next time around. And again, our top 2 qualifiers, Earl Beckner in the 71, Brandon Morris in the 56, bringing up our front row. One time from now, they're going to bring the field around at speed for green. The starting rules at the World Series this year, no starting box. You see a starting box, it's actually a steady pace and pickup of speed through turns 3 and 4 for the front row starters. When they get to the final line that's over in turn number 4, the leader has to get to that line first. The pole sitter has to get to that line first in turn number 4. And then you stay in your lane at least to the finish line, and then it's all on for green flag racing. The pace car lights are off, and we're set to go. The first of many, many features this week, Alan Dietz. Welcome to your first World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing NASCAR action here on TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold. It is Beckner in the 71. It's the 56 of Morris ready for green. Turn number 4. Already a little bit of contact, and we're underway for 30 laps from the World Series.
Field racing out of turn number 2 now. Brandon Morris in that 56 car taking the lead over Earl Beckner. And already a caution out on the speedway. As you see our track pass ticker up at the top of the screen, you'll be able, through the course of tonight's racing action and all week, you'll be able to see where your favorite driver's running, and you'll also know where we are in the laps. Some damage there, a lot of damage right now, Adam, on the back end of that car number 25.
Yeah, Timmy Todd out of St. Cloud, Florida, with the damage to the left rear, got a flat tire. Looks like damage that will be repairable to get him back out onto the racetrack. He elects not to come to pit road that time. May not know that left rear tire is flat, but definitely needs to come to the pits, make a change on that left rear, get back out. We also see a car on pit road. So some damage, unfortunately, to a couple of our cars on the first lap of our scheduled event tonight.
It's Joe Winchell in that car number 92 out of Lizella, Georgia. Joe, a long-time veteran of late model racing here in the state of Florida, whether it's Sportsman cars or super late models and pro late models, a very familiar name. And, you know, this Sportsman division, and I don't want to single out the Sportsman division because it seems like each night that we're here as part of the World Series, you'll find one of the divisions that maybe gets a reputation for a little bit of yellow fever. It could be the Sportsman cars one night. It could be the modifieds another night. Sunday night's a full moon, as you pointed out earlier.
It looks pretty full tonight, to be quite honest,
Yeah.
and that's what everybody was pointing at. And I said, let me look when it's officially 100% a full moon, and that's coming up this Sunday night when we have just 3 classes of racing for 105 laps total. So
that might be a good thing.
It was the perfect combination. Maybe that's why we only have 3 divisions on Sunday night.
You know, I'll tell you one night that I'm really excited about. Of course, we're going to see the ARCA Menard Series East here on Monday night. But for the first time as a part of the World Series, we'll see the Tour-type modifieds, and that's going to be some really wild action here. Remember, in addition to watching the ARCA Menard Series East and West, as well as the Welland Modified Tour on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold, you'll also be able to see tape delayed action on NBC Sports Network. And the ARCA Menard Series East race that will be held here on Monday night, you'll see it live here, but you'll also be able to see it on NBC Sports Network on Friday.
Another car with work going on, the 19 car, stopped on a pit road. Kevin Macy. Most of our cars involved in this were from position 13 back, so it happened past the midpoint of our starting lineup.
Kevin Macy, 39 years old, out of Bartow, Florida. And for you longtime fans of NASCAR racing, you may recognize Bartow as the place where Rick Wilson was from, who was the original driver of the Kodak car number 4 for Morgan McClure Racing, and drove that car for a number of years, came close to winning the Firecracker 400 at Daytona in 1988. he was edged out by Awesome Bill.
I think I remember Rick Wilson more in the Snickers number 8 car.
Well, you're a little younger than me.
That's right. Just a couple years.
Just a few. I mean, when you look at us, you may think you're a lot younger than me, but that's what people say anyway. Not just about you, about everybody, apparently.
Must just be my great skincare.
I don't know.
You see a black flag waving from Ralph Miller there, sending one of their competitors pit side as they realign the cars for a restart. We have not completed a lap. They have 35 laps, I believe they are going now. Originally, this was scheduled to be a 30-lap feature, but I guess they are going 35 laps as Earl Beckner in the 71 and the 56 of Brandon Morris will make up our front row. Rolling under yellow. Still waiting on the final rows to be put back together. As getting our lineup all sorted out. First of 5 features here tonight. A yellow on our first lap of our original race for the week. Talking about youth, circling around on social media earlier this week was a picture of Alan Dietz, quite young, announcing races. With a full head of hair.
He's a very handsome young man with a chiseled jaw and a full head of hair. And don't know what happened to that young announcer, but he's not around anymore, that's for sure.
So now all the cars are coming down pit road. So everyone coming down pit road will get a word on what exactly is the case. Ralph Miller shaking his head, our chief starter, like, oh boy, here we go again, shaking his head. But this is obviously not the way they wanted this first race to start. We're going to get a word in moments why they're doing this, but my guess is maybe checking cars for some possible fluid coming out of one of them.
And that Wheelman Series race that we'll have here tomorrow night, you know, a lot of excitement about that Wheelman Series race coming up here. It'll be their first ever race at New Smyrna Speedway. And, you know, we've seen a lot of tracks, as we said, adopt these Wheelman rules. When racing returns to Gresham Motorsports Park in May, the Wheelman Series will be there. And, you know, Steve Dorr has done a great job. He's a racer himself in pro late models and super late models. And he has done a great job not only of creating this Wheelman Series, but getting these tracks that race the Sportsman cars to adopt those rules and get some consistency.
They've actually brought the cars to pit road because there has been an oil down in turns 3 and 4, and rather than have the cars ride around the track, roll through the oil, spread it out, want to give the chance for the track crew to get out there and dry it up, clean it up, and then we can get the cars back out. So a precarious start. I guess the moon is maybe more than 90% full. It's closer to 100 tonight.
Well, as you see the safety dune buggy here at New Smyrna Speedway, I guess we will see
plenty of that this weekend.
We'll see plenty of that, and putting that oil dye down, because as my grandma Elizabeth would say, it's slicker than goose snot over in turns 3 and 4.
And that would probably be pretty slick.
I had you worried there for a minute, didn't I?
Not at all. You see cleaning up the upper lanes as there's the field of Sportsmen. You know, this class is one that has really come into its own down here in the South. Some tracks you see it, and it's kind of called the Outlaw Division because they look like Outlaw late models, but it's called Sportsman here in the Wheelman Sportsman Series that has been around for a few years now. I think this is like its 3rd or 4th season, and we'll see them in competition tomorrow night. Most of these drivers will be here for that 50-lap feature one night from now.
And as you mentioned, these cars have a lot of similarities to a super late model and a pro late model chassis. They have a stock front clip, though. I believe they race on a 10-inch tire, and they also run with a 602 crate engine. They're very affordable for somebody that might not be able to have the budget to go pro late model or super late model racing. And besides that, the other thing I like about it is you do have young women and young men like Brooke Storer who can go out, start in this division, and then possibly move up into one of the late model divisions.
Brooke Storer obviously very competitive in this class and has had some solid finishes in points in the Wheelman Series. Brooke Storer finished 6th in the Wheelman Series a year ago. making the World Series start tonight in a non-sanctioned race. Nonetheless, just getting ready for tomorrow night's big showdown with the Wheelman Series. And, of course, we talked about our remaining 8 nights of racing. We've obviously mentioned we've got our 5 features tonight. We're going to have 5 features tomorrow night. Modifieds, the Florida Modifieds, back in action. They'll start tomorrow night's program. The Pro Lates will be back. The Wheelman Series running 50 laps. Super Late Models running 35 tomorrow night. And the Mod Minis running 25. So the same divisions that we have tonight will be in competition tomorrow night, only it's a Wheelman race for the Sportsman.
And you know the great thing is NASCAR has actually eliminated some of the nighttime racing over at the big track at Daytona International Speedway. The Busch Clash, that used to be on Saturday night. Now that's on Sunday afternoon. So other than Thursday night when the duels are going on at Daytona and when the truck race is going on Friday night, it's a great opportunity for short track racing fans and racing fans in general from all over the United States when they're in town to come here to New Smyrna Speedway and watch some great pavement short track racing in a variety of divisions.
You know, this is the 10th year in a row I've been able to come down and work at the World Series, and it's become a work vacation, obviously. Always great to get to come to Florida during the month of February when you live in Ohio or you live in Illinois, where I live now, and definitely like it down here for 10 days of great weather and great racing. And, you know, you'll notice this as the week goes on, and some people are like, man, 9 nights in a row of racing, I can really, be a lot. I mean, that's over a week of racing in a row of many of the same drivers, many of the same divisions. But it's fun watching the stories develop during the week, the rivalries develop during the week. Somebody might get into somebody tonight, and then you're going to be watching those 2 drivers tomorrow night to see if any retaliation happens. You're going to watch the championship battles with our super late models, our Florida modifieds, our tour type modifieds when they start on Monday, and then the super late models, the pro late models as well. So you've got a number of divisions that run for championships. That's always fun to watch too.
Well, the other thing that I like in a lot of the races that we stream and that we talk about around the country, many times they're 150 laps or more, and you will get to see some longer distance races around 100 laps. But just like tonight's races, 30 laps here for the Sportsman, 35 for the super late models, 35 for the pros, and you're even going to see short races for the tour type modifieds that very rarely run races that short. No conservation. I don't know how many times we go to races and we're like, well, is he holding back just a little bit? Is he saving his tires? You really don't have that opportunity here for the World Series.
And what makes it even tougher for a lot of the drivers, you set fast time, you may end up starting 8th or 10th. We have that being the case in a class or 2 tonight where fast qualifiers not starting on the pole be able to just go out and run away with it. They're going to start in the 3rd row, 4th row, 5th row. They're going to have to work pretty hard to get up there and pick up a win. It makes it pretty exciting in a short race.
And we can give you a preview, actually, of our next race where they did invert the top 6 qualifiers. The super late models, they'll be coming up next, one of the more popular divisions here at New Smyrna Speedway. They'll race for 35 laps, 20 cars, good field of cars. Derek Griffith out of New Hampshire, he had a win here last year. He'll start from the pole. Max Callis from Texas alongside. Sammy Smith, the young driver out of Iowa, driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Anthony Sergi, a former track champion here at New Smyrna Speedway. Jesse Love racing for Wimmer Motorsports, young driver out of California. And Brad May, the defending track champion here at New Smyrna Speedway. He was the fast qualifier, but he'll start back in 6th. And just think about that. We named 2 drivers from Florida in the top 6, New Hampshire, Texas, Iowa, and New Hampshire, all represented in those top 3 rows for the super late models.
Get a chance here a little bit later, maybe under a break, try to tell you how many different states are represented in all of our divisions tonight. It's got to be huge. And the field has taken formation, and we are set for a restart. No laps have been completed, 35 laps the distance. The Sportsman back underway on night number 1 at New Smyrna.
Field back down into turns 1 and 2. Earl Beckner in that green car on the bottom. Again, Brandon Morris gets a good run on the outside. Not as good as we saw in that initial start. Now let's watch here, Adam, as they go over where we saw that oil down in turns 3 and 4. Looks like, whoa, we got a car going around just out of the frame there. It's Bobby Orr in that car number 30 in hard contact with the inside wall out of turn 4.
Just caught the corner of it when he came off of turn 4. He looped it around, backed it up, thought for a moment he might be able to save it. Slid into that inside retaining wall, and that inside retaining wall will eat up a few cars this week.
Yeah, yesterday I had to climb that wall a couple of times to get down into the pits to do some stories. It's a hard concrete wall, and it's pretty high, too. My legs are kind of short.
It's kind of tiered, though, where you can use it as steps.
I
So
did
it helps
get that.
Those, like you, when your chin isn't as chiseled as it once was.
Oh, my chin or my knees.
And you see the driver climbing out, Bobby Orr, Floridian, veteran driver, been racing a number of years, and it was a pretty hard hit. Hopefully didn't get too far into the frame, but definitely some damage to the rear supports on that car as he takes a look. The rest of the car looks to be in pretty good, so whatever the damage is, it's all on the right rear of that number 30 automobile, and it's a quick car, just missing the invert. Qualified third. The invert was 2. Great starting spot. Looking forward to a great 4 nights of racing for the Sportsman, and not the way he wanted to get this thing started. Bobby Orr goes back onto the new Smyrna Speedway tow truck.
It just looked like whenever he hit the gas there in turn 4, whether, as you said, he might have caught a little bit of the apron, or could there have been a little bit of that oil still down there. He's talking to the officials, but the car went around. Sponsorship from his own company, Bobby Orr Real Estate. And you see Lee Falk Racing there on the back. Lee Falk has lived in North Carolina for a number of years and has a good driver development program of limited late models and late model stocks. But don't forget, Lee Falk raced out of Florida in late models and the old Goodies Dash Series, and he's actually down here this weekend helping Bobby Orr. But this night and tomorrow morning has gotten a little bit longer for those guys to make repairs on this car, number 30. It's a good-looking race car. It's a shame to see.
Looks like we're showing 1 lap completed with 34 laps to go in this Sportsman feature event to get us started this evening. Alan Dietz and Adam Mackey on our World Series coverage on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. Watching is the Bobby Orr number 30 machine. We'll go back to the pits, and that crew will be hard at work, and there'll be a number of cars that look like this and then end up back on track the next day. So Bobby Orr is 30. Back to the pits. Officials lining up the remainder of the field. Single file formation now as they have scored 1 lap of the event with Orr heading off. Earl Beckner shown as the leader at the end of lap 1. And we're going to take a look at the replay as there was Orr in the 30 in the 3rd spot, back to 4th, and
there
just
you see
slid
it
up the track. And when he tried to steer off of Brooks Store, car got free, rear end came around, and nothing he could do to save it and keep it off the wall. And all he tried to do there was avoid hitting Store.
And how about our NBC Sports Gold cameras picking that up? Because what we saw was just out of the frame, and we didn't know if he might have, caught that inside of the apron there. But you see, as you said, the car pushed up. Mm-hmm. He has those wheels cranked hard to the left, and he just got into Brooks Store a little bit, and that was enough to push the front end of the car on around and send him spinning.
And Dunn took down one of the banners that were along the inside retaining wall as just went up the track. And if he made any contact with the 9, it was very, very slight. He was trying as hard as he could to steer away from the 9 as the car pushed up the banking and around it went. And he was able to get it slowed down some, but that's still a hard, hard hit to the right rear and definitely pushed that rear end over a little bit, as that's a long trip back to the infield on your first night.
Yep, you hate to see that, and looks like they're going to count that lap as having been scored. But again, glad you're watching with us here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. Let your friends, let your family know that you're watching, and share with us. Be sure to tag everything, #TrackPass, #TrackPass. And let's see that build throughout the weekend.
Well, we are ready to go. Field is realigned. We've completed a lap, 34 to go. Would like to, and now we see our cars coming down pit road as the 44. Matthew Green has come to the pits. Ready for Green coming off of turn number 4, and Beckner gets a good restart outside lane. He chooses the outside lane for the restart and leads the field into turn 1.
And I think he learned something there, because on both of those previous starts, Brandon Morris on the outside in that black car number 56 was able to get a good run on the outside, and it paid off for Earl Beckner, as now we watch a battle back for 4th. Brooks Storr takes it, and look at this racing from 5th on back.
Pretty dicey. You see Schofield in the 07, former super late model champion in 2007, and there's the 407 running the outside lane. Jason Vale trying to make his way forward after a subpar qualifying lap, put him back in the 12th starting position.
And I promise you, if you've never watched Jeff Schofield in that car number 07 race, he is about as hard-nosed as they come. And sometimes here at the World Series, that pays off.
And sometimes it might get you in a little trouble. It can go both ways
true.
on you. The 16 of Tim Sozio back there, Floridian trying to make his way forward. We've singled out a little bit, completing our first 4 laps of the Sportsman feature. Leading the way is Earl Beckner, but we're watching back in the field, and the young lady in the number 9, Brooke Storr, makes the move to the inside. It's for the 3rd spot. Chad Rutherford running the outside group.
Now, she got down on the apron just a little bit there in turn 3, but what we see a lot of times is if a driver can get those left side tires down on that apron, it can actually help turn the car, and I think that's what we saw there, and she made a good move to get around the 2 machine of Rutherford.
Yeah, that apron here is definitely not out of bounds. You can drop a couple tires down there, and you see the 3 car do it. And these cars, as you mentioned, running a crate engine, so it's all about momentum, keeping your momentum up. If you have to crack the throttle a little bit more, get on the brakes, you're going to lose a spot or 2 because you lost that momentum. That's why the lane looks a little bit different that they run as we continue to watch the 2 of Rutherford, followed by the 3 of Henley, a champion in the Wheelman Series just 2 years ago.
And that narrow tire. That's the other thing. Even though they may be a little bit down on horsepower with that 602 crate motor, running that narrow tire compared to the super late models and the pro late models, you see these cars kind of sweep out a little bit and the rear end kick out on them on occasion.
Watching some battles back in the field as well. Sozio in the 16 has just been overtaken by Cody Stickler in the 5. Now, we've seen Stickler run some modified action here at the World Series in the past. Back up to the 4th spot and 5th spot, Chad Rutherford, Jesse Henley. To make mention, Earl Beckner still leads the way. So we continue to watch action in our top 5, completing about our first 10 laps of this 35-lap feature for the Sportsman.
Yeah, the Sportsman guy's doing a pretty good job right now as we go back to Tim Sozio in that 16 car ahead of Rex Struble. And Tim, you know, he works for the Miami Dolphins organization. Used to work for the Houston Rockets when he lived in Texas. And on the occasion that he gets to go racing, he comes out and races in this Sportsman division in that red 16 machine.
Running right now in the 9th position with Struble in the 10th spot. Struble was 2nd in the Wheelman points for the 2019 season. So he'll be looking for a big Wheelman Series finish tomorrow night for their point standings in 2020. We watch the field shoot by. Jeff Christensen down there on our camera in turn 1, giving us some great shots as always here at the World Series. 77 car moving up back in the field. Patrick Thomas, veteran driver who is a wheelman in his own right.
Literally.
And very good sportsman racer, and he's always a favorite to win races here at the World Series. Different car number this year for Thomas.
Yeah, and a surprise not driving his own machine here this weekend. Was the Wheelman champion last year with a couple of wins, and he's moved that 77 car up to 10th after some struggles yesterday. Now, there's your leader, Earl Beckner in the 71 car.
His lead has grown to over 0.8 of a second over Brandon Morris, turning lap times in the 19s. 19.6 was his last lap. See how high they come out to the wall. It's that crate engine where they just don't want to scrub off any speed, so they use up all of the real estate that they can.
And you saw going down into turn 1 there, he went up about a whole car width higher into the turn than where the groove is, and we saw the same thing, as you said, trying to keep that momentum up. As Jeff Schofield, he's going to lose a spot here, Adam.
Yeah, Cody Stickler's on the move. Shows Cody Stickler on our scoring. We have a 5W was scheduled to start at the back of the field. Daniel Webster will have to get a confirmation that that's not Webster, and the scoring is correct. Vale in the 407 running the outside. Thomas in the 77 inside, and these two drivers have been two of the best Sportsman drivers over the past few years at the World Series.
You know, another thing that you love about these Sportsman cars, and you really get a good look at it all the way around, not only from this turn one camera, but the way that the templates are on these cars, they're not nearly as strict as they are with the Super Late models and the pros. So, you know, if you can fit a couple of basic templates, you have the ingenuity to do some different things with these bodies, and we've seen a lot of different variations of cars here with the Sportsman division.
The 5 back to the inside, looking low. And again, on scoring, it's showing up as Stickler, but we had it on our lineup as the 5W as Webster. So regardless of which of those two very good drivers it is, they're moving forward as we get ready to see the halfway signal. As we do see halfway from Ralph Miller, we've completed over half the laps of this race, and I think Brandon Morris is starting to reel in Earl Beckner at the front of the pack.
They close it in. Earl Beckner in that 71 car had opened up a pretty good lead over the 56 machine of Brandon Morris. Finished 7th in Wheelman points last year with that car number 56. And he is chopping it down. 15 laps to go. And they're going to go quick. Just 19-second laps here around this half-mile New Smyrna Speedway.
It was nearly 9/10 of a second just a few laps ago. It's fallen to under 4/10, and Thomas continues to move forward into 77. Patrick Thomas going for 6th, and he makes the move on Jesse Henley.
And again, you see some of that ingenuity when you look at the nose of that car, the what they call the greenhouse, the part that goes over the driver from the back of the hood to the front of the
you saying they plant flowers in the greenhouse? No?
Well, they do in some, but if they're planting them in these race cars, then they're probably not racing them anymore. Just a car length now, the advantage for Earl Beckner.
Yeah, Beckner's lead is down to nothing. Right on his rear bumper coming off of turn number 4 as they work traffic. There is Brandon Morris, the top 2 into turn 1 around traffic.
They'll put a lap on the 32 of Devin McLeod. But you could see Morris in that car number 56. He's really getting off the corners well. The 71 drives it down deep, but from the center off, it looks like that 56 is better, and boy, do they get close to that outside wall in turn 4.
Going to be 10 to go next time around as they lap the 19 of Kevin Macy off of the second turn. Beckner leading. His car doesn't rotate the middle of the corner as well as Morris. Watch Morris. He can glue his car right to the yellow line. Both of them actually push up a little off the bottom that time. All the way out to the wall they go with 10 more laps to go.
You know, the other thing I like about these race cars, if you think back to, at least in the South, when a lot of tracks went from dirt to pavement, these wedge-type cars were the style bodies were the style that we saw with the dirt cars. And when they went to pavement, a lot of those teams kept that style body. It went away, but it's come back here with these Sportsman cars with the wheelman rules and some great racing here on back at the back half of the top 10.
5S of Stickler, 2 of Rutherford, 77 of Thomas, and back to our leaders. Here we go. Morris to the inside of Beckner for the number 1 spot. 8 laps remaining.
Now for Beckner, he's got to try to pinch that car number 56 down and break the momentum on that 602 crate motor, and he was able to do it that time out of turn 2.
It's easy to get to the inside of a driver here. It's not quite as easy to make the pass and complete it if the driver on the outside can keep your momentum pinched down, and that's in all classes, not just the Sportsman division, as we're down to 7 to go, and Beckner, the driving veteran, trying to hold off Morris.
The super late models and the modifieds at least have the horsepower that they may be able to turn it down and get around somebody. Beckner with a slip there in turn 4. You know, you almost think that car number 56 of Brandon Morris, if he could get an opportunity to maybe get to the outside of Beckner going into one of these corners, that may be more fortuitous for him, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do that or not.
He's working hard, and Beckner slips up middle of the turn again. That allows Morris to close the gap, but he slides a little bit off the 4th corner, and we're down now to 5 laps to go. Traffic, could it play a part in this one? There's a few cars right ahead of the leaders.
David McLeod in the car number 23 directly in front of the leaders as they work through turns 3 and 4 this time. And Brandon Morris, you almost wonder if he lost so much ground to Beckner as he closed back in. Did he use up the tires? Maybe he's trying to let them cool off just a little bit to make one more run at them. But I would say both of these guys are about in the same boat as far as the tires go. These cars right now all over the racetrack. Beckner going to go up the track.
Another run. Down to 3 laps remaining. Who's going to do it? Beckner's got his work cut out for him. Morris is there. They've caught traffic. 14th position. Devin McLeod right in front of the leaders. 2 to go this time. Popsicle sticks will be in the air. Beckner doesn't want to go to the outside. He's afraid he's going to give up that bottom, and Morris is going to go low. Eventually, he may have to make a pass at that slower traffic.
I like where Brandon Morris is right now because he's going to do whatever Earl Beckner doesn't do. Beckner able to pull him, though, by about a car length down the back straightaway.
Nose to tail with traffic, and the white flag waves. Final lap, 1 to go for Beckner. Giving him the inside lane, and that's a big break for Beckner, is the 23 of McLeod. It gives Beckner a gap of 2 car lengths with half a lap to go.
Earl Beckner looking pretty good as they go back into turns 3 and 4. And the first winner of Speed Weeks, the World Series here at New Smyrna Speedway, is going to be Earl Beckner as he'll take the checkered flag here in the Sportsman division. Brandon Morris in the 56 will come home in second. Great run for Brooke Storer. She'll finish in third. The 5 again scored is Cody Stickler, but we think it could be Daniel Webster will finish in fourth. And Patrick Thomas will come home in fifth in the car number 77. So Adam Mackey heading down trackside now. And he'll get a word with our winner, Earl Beckner. Glad you're watching with us tonight, live from New Smyrna Speedway in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, on trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. I'm Alan Dietz, and as I said, Adam Mackey heading down trackside to interview the first winner of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing for 2020. And the top 3 finishers have pulled down to the front straightaway. Adam Mackey again down to get a word with our top finishers. And then it'll be time to go super late model racing for 35 laps here at New Smyrna Speedway. Let's turn it down trackside now to Adam Mackey. He's going to catch up with our winner.
Earl Beckner claims victory here tonight. Earl, congratulations. Man, you were out front, had a big lead early. 56, all over you, 58. Did you think he was going to get you?
I knew he was there. I just, we got a big race tomorrow, and I didn't want to jeopardize it. But he was quick. Don't get me wrong, we got some work to do. But, hey, this race is for Shane Held and to all the moms and dads that lost a child out there. Like I said, we're going to come back with the orange one tomorrow, and I think it's a little bit better.
50-lap race tomorrow. What changes do you make for the car?
I'm not going to run this car. I'm going to run my other one.
He's got a different car saved up for night number 2. Earl Beckner finishing in the number 1 spot for night number 1 at the World Series in our Sportsman. We will go back to get a word with our second-place car in just a moment.
Thanks a lot, Adam. And as we said, the Wheelman Series with the Touring Sportsman division will be here and racing for 50 laps at New Smyrna Speedway tomorrow night.
Second-place competitor Brandon Morris in the 58. Brandon, a good run tonight. Came up just a little bit short. Your leader there, Earl Beckner, got away from you. You caught him. I thought you were going to be able to make the move. Your car was a little better in the middle of the corner. You just couldn't get him coming off.
Yeah, that's 100%. I'd like to thank Cross Electric, Triple H Incorporated, Kyle Cooper, Dylan Harrison, my dad, everybody who makes this possible. Bobo with AMF Chassis. Good job to Earl Beckner, and thank you, Wheelman Series and New Smyrna for letting us be here. He had a really fast car. I felt like I did too. We got tight on the longer we ran, the tighter we got. And I thought I had him there getting off into 1. I thought I was going to be able to make a move on him, and I got in too early. And it killed my entry, and then by the time I got back to him, we had 1 lap to go, and it was too hard from there. Thank you, fans, for coming out here tonight on a Friday night. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Brandon Morris a close second on night number 1.
Brandon Morris going to need to pick it up just a little bit more tomorrow night in that 50-lapper for the Wheelman Series. But at least he learned a few things here tonight that could help him in that big 50-lapper tomorrow night. Brooke Storr, she's going to come home in the 3rd spot. Good run for that young lady, and I expect that she'll run well here on Saturday night. Remember, be sure to check out all the latest in the world of short track racing. Check out NASCAR Roots at NASCAR Roots on Twitter. And if you're watching tonight here on TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold, be sure to use the hashtag TrackPass. Let all your fellow race fans around the world know that you're watching great grassroots short track racing here at the NASCAR-sanctioned New Smyrna Speedway. If you're not familiar with New Smyrna Speedway, it's got quite a history. Track opened as a dirt track back in 1964, actually was named Daytona Raceway, and it only remained a dirt track for about 6 months. And then the track was paved by the owner at that time, the late Clyde Hart. First World Series was in 1966. It was originally 4 nights. Track measures a half mile. It's banked at 23 degrees and was last paved in 2007. You look at some of the great World Series champions. Richie Evans, 5-time World Series champion of the modifieds. Dick Trickle, a 4-time World Series champion with the late models. Reggie Ruggiero, he won the World Series modified championship 3 times. Ted Christopher, an 8-time World Series modified champion. And you see drivers like Mark Martin, Ron Bouchard, Junior Hanley, Greg Sachs, and Jimmy Spencer, who have all won the World Series points championship. And it's a very tough championship to win. As we said, 9 nights of racing here at New Smyrna Speedway. And not only is it important to go out and win races, not only is it important to be consistent, but it's important to survive. You know, you get through one night, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get through the next night. And we've seen drivers go with a variety of different strategies here, Adam, over the years to win that World Series championship. Whether it's through consistency or winning racing or just surviving, as we look at our highlights here from race number 1 of World Series 2020 here at New Smyrna.
Saw the 30 car, obviously, early in the race. First lap, it gets completed, and around went Bobby Orr and damaging the right rear of that car. And I think the car that sustained the most damage was him, and he was, of course, our 3rd fast qualifier, had a great starting spot tonight.
Look at this. Look at Brandon Morris in that 56 car.
That was his chance.
Yep, that was his chance, and he really worked hard to stay off of Earl Beckner there out of turn 4. But again, with these motors in particular, if you combine that guy up down on the bottom, and I think he made Brandon Morris heat those tires up, and that's what it took for Earl Beckner to come home and take the win.
Just couldn't close back in, and I think the key there was the lap car that moved to the outside lane and allowed Beckner to go to the inside. And you heard Beckner say he's driving a different car tomorrow night. So
oh, yeah.
He's probably got a better weapon sitting around waiting to go for the 50-lap feature one night from now.
But, you know, and we spoke about it whenever you were coming up from doing the trackside interview, that a guy like Brandon Morris, a guy like Brooke Storr, a gal like Brooke Storr, they learned a lot tonight. They learned a lot about what these cars will do for 35 laps, and they can do a lot to make adjustments to help these cars in tomorrow night's big 50-lapper for the Wheelman Series.
And we saw Patrick Thomas. We saw that 5 of Stickler moving through the field. They were putting on some great moves to get up into our top 5 from pretty deep in the starting field. So they're going to be threats tomorrow night as well. So we'll keep our eyes on the 77 and the 5 tomorrow night.
But we also saw the importance there, Adam, of qualifying and how, you know, these races are short. You don't have the opportunity to pass a lot of cars in such a short amount of laps.
And now you see super late models lining up on pit road. It's the premier class that we have over the first few nights of racing. Of course, the Tour Modifieds joining us on Monday, and these super late models always put on a great show, and it's always a battle for that championship between 2 or 3 drivers as it starts to get sorted out. We have a couple of champions with us racing in the field this year.
Yeah, Derek Griffith in that car number 12 out of Hudson, New Hampshire, the LCM Motorsport Chevrolet, 2018 past national champion, and has really proven himself to be one of, if not the top racers out of New England. Max Callis, McAllen, Texas, in the 148. Kind of a surprise in that GARC race car, but he'll take the outside pole.
He was fast in practice yesterday and today, and he qualified 5th earlier tonight and puts him in a great starting position on the outside of row number 1 for tonight's 35-lap feature. Row number 2, Sammy Smith, a 15-year-old driver. New team for Sammy Smith in 2020. I think he's going to be a threat all week long.
Yeah, racing for Kyle Busch Motorsports in 2020 really, I don't want to say caught people by surprise, but I think it made people take notice. Remember Sammy Smith? He won the Pro Late Model Championship here at the World Series last year.
Anthony Sergi, familiar face here at the World Series and New Smyrna Speedway all year long. Anthony Sergi second in the 2019 points here at the track. Geneva, Florida driver starting on the outside of row number 2. Jesse Love, a midget driver, open wheel competitor, young driver, a teenager coming from California. Going to run the World Series this week. Car number 21 starting 5th. He was second quick in qualifying, and rounding out the top 6 was the top qualifier and the champion at this track a year ago, Brad May.
Rolling off back in the 7th starting position will be the RNMinstall.com Chevrolet. That's kind of unusual because we've seen it Ford for this driver out of Dolomite, Alabama. 2-time Snowball Derby winner Augie Grill in the 112. To his outside, former World Series champion, the RC Moore Transportation Toyota, originally from Scarborough, Maine. That's Ryan Moore.
Jet Nolan, young driver in car number 50, starts in the 9th position. He was 10th in the World Series points here a year ago, 7th in the Southern Super Series points in 2019. And Colin Garrett, we saw him race at the World Series a year ago, finished 6th in the standings out of South Boston, Virginia. He drives car number 24 on the outside of row 5. Starting
back in 11th, the young driver from Nova Scotia, the King Racing Chevrolet of Austin McDonald, or Toyota actually this year for Austin McDonald. Justin Mondyke from Merrill, Wisconsin, in the 44 machine. He finished 3rd in Tundra Series points last year.
Younger brother of Trevor Bain, Trey Bain, in car number 9B, driving for the Jet Concrete team this week. A new combination there out of Knoxville, Tennessee, starting 13th. Jake Garcia starting 14th, and not a good qualifying effort tonight for Garcia, but he's a good race car driver for a young kid his age. Runner-up in this year's Snowball Derby.
David Rogers in the car number 11, the 2-time World Series champion here at New Smyrna Speedway. He'll start back at 11th. Many-time track champion here, not in 11th, car number 11. He'll start 15th. Brad Casso from Union Grove, Wisconsin, in the car number 12. He'll start 16th.
David Green out of Fort Pierce, Florida, starts in the 17th position in the 12D. And Vincent Staggs ran a couple of recent races here at New Smyrna Speedway, the Governor's Cup and the Red Eye, finishing 14th and 12th respectively out of Orlando, Florida, in car 01.
Joe Valento, the Nitro Lubricants Chevrolet from Scandia, Minnesota, making the move up from Truck Series racing in the upper Midwest. He'll start 19th. And rounding out the field in 20th from Plantation, Florida, will be the 112W of Steve Weaver.
Derek Griffith in the 12 and the 148 of Max Callis, our front row. And I think we're going to get the one-to-go signal this time as we're about ready to set him loose. First night of Super Late Model competition, 9 nights of racing. We'll see the Supers on track about 7 times this week. So we'll see him plenty of action here at the World Series as Ralph Miller gives them the one-to-go signal.
And remember, as you watch here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold, just because you don't see a driver here tonight doesn't mean you're not going to see him at some point this week. We expect to see Ty Majeski and a couple of the longer races for the super late models. Just because you see a driver in the field tonight, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be here on Wednesday night, which again is great because you see so many different drivers throughout the week here.
Usually the field grows as the week goes on. More drivers come in during the weekend and for the bigger races, and we're set for green. Derek Griffith in the 12, Max Callis in the 148. We're underway. You see him spinning the tires a bit. Trouble back in the field. David Rogers backs it into the wall. Heavy damage to the rear clip of the 11 car. And some fire along the wall as well, so I would assume some fuel has been spilled up on the edge of the wall.
Well, you imagine that car was packed full of fuel, and if you look at the back end of that TM Ranch Chevrolet of David Rogers, I don't even know that it necessarily punctured the fuel cell, but a lot of times you'll see some overflow.
And it would have been filled up to the overflow at the start of the race most likely, as David Rogers, hard hit for the number 11. The car badly damaged here on the opening start for the super late models.
Might have some good downforce. Hate to say that, but the way that rear end's jacked up in the air.
So a hard hit for David Rogers as he unbuckles from the car. Of course, that car and team picked up the World Series Super Late Model Championship with Bubba Pollard behind the wheel a year ago. Pollard was driving it as David Rogers battled cancer a year ago, and the good news is he has overcome that cancer that he was battling a year ago and got back behind the wheel at the Snowball Derby and back again for the World Series. Not the way he wanted his World Series week to start.
And I think the number's right, 34 Snowball Derby starts for the 33 or 34. He broke Red Farmer's record this year for Snowball Derby starts with taking the green flag in 2019, and not sure what happened there. First off, and I think the officials are going to look at this. It looked.
It was deep in the field.
It was definitely deep in the field, but the start by the leaders was kind of ragged, and I don't know if that affected what happened in the middle of the field.
And again, a cool night. They kind of spin the tires a little bit coming to green over in turn 4, and I think that could have been part of what happened back in the field as well. The 15th position is where David Rogers was starting, and he got into the outside wall with the back end of the race car, and much like we saw in the Sportsman, the opening start, an issue for some drivers deep in the pack. And that's one of the keys to qualifying well in an event like this, obviously not having to worry as much about getting caught up in someone else's doing.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, David Rogers in that car number 11, a 4-time World Series champion here at New Smyrna Speedway, and that's a perfect example of what we were talking about just a little bit earlier. Now, the fact that David Rogers is from the Orlando area, he probably does have another car he can bring out. He could probably even take this car back to the shop if he wants to race for the points. But they're definitely going to have to change plans after this accident on the opening lap here tonight.
35-lap event for the super late models. And kind of taking a look at what we see, the packed infield as the car stopped, and now the replay. And some contact behind the 12 of Cassot is actually what turned him down into the 11 of Rogers. So Rogers had no idea what was about to hit him.
No.
It was Cassot getting hit from the rear end that turned him into David Rogers.
And it's hard to...
It was the 01 of Vincent Staggs.
You're exactly right. It's the 01 of Vincent Staggs.
He just got into the back of Cassot, and it turned him to the inside and nowhere for David Rogers to go. Terrible break.
Now, I don't, at the speed they were at that point, I do not believe that Cassot spun the tires. Now, could he have missed a shift or had the 0-1 of Staggs just got a better start than him? I don't know.
You know, when you're looking at Cassot in the 12, he was back just a little bit, and David Rogers has driven the 11 car back to the infield. So good news is the car still rolls. Bad news is the rear of the car, frame and all, has been jacked up into the air. So David Rogers back to his pit stall.
TM Ranch, the sponsor on that car, a longtime supporter of David Rogers.
You know, when we saw that replay, you could see that Cassau's 12 was back about a car length from the car in front of him, not to where he'd spun his tires so badly or missed a shift and was way off the pace by any means, but definitely the Stags car had a better run coming off of 4. He had more speed at that point, and that's what created the contact that turned him down into David Rogers. And, of course, he was a bystander in that deal, had no idea what was about to hit him, and he was a lane down the track.
Following tonight's 35-lapper here for the super late models on NBC Sports Gold. The track will have a brief intermission, and then it'll be time for pro late model racing, Florida modified racing, and the Bombers as David Rogers out of his car.
He's been to about as many World Series as anybody, so you can imagine he's been through something similar to this before.
But he looks great. You know, we could tell when we saw him at the Snowball Derby in December that he had lost a lot of weight. He's put back on a little bit of weight. His color's great. I mean, he just looks really healthy, and that's the most important thing. 64 years young is David Rogers, out early here for the super late models at New Smyrna Speedway.
Derek Griffith, I would say when you start talking about World Series potential championship battles, you're going to talk about Derek Griffith. You're going to talk about the 51 of Sammy Smith. Can't count out Brad May in the 9. He's not won a super late model World Series championship, but he's been right there in the pros. He's been there in the supers, just come up short.
Ryan Moore in the 74, he's won it before.
Augie going to run every night this week?
You know, I was thinking that same thing, and we did not expect to see him in the last race he ran at Watermelon Capital Speedway back in January, and we're seeing him race a lot more here as of late. That is a brand new GARC chassis, Grand American Race Cars, which is his business. And, you know, they're going to try to work the bugs out of that car here this week, but I would not fret to say that they may not race for this championship. And that 148, you know, again, Max Callis, you know, dirt modified driver out of Texas, and that's a GARC race car. It's been working closely down in the pit area with Augie Grill, and he's been very impressive. Somebody needs to tell Nicholas Noggle not to hit the pit wall there.
And, you know, it's deceiving for him inside the car because he can't see that the wall juts out like it does where he's sitting. And he was a little bit too close to it, and he rubbed it a little bit. I think he just
what did they say? It gave it some character, right?
Might as well go ahead and hit something, get it out of the way, because it could happen, you know, in a little bit.
Hey, and you know what? He might have just pushed something in just a little bit that's going to make that car perfect tonight.
35 laps for super late model competition. Our second of 5 features here tonight on night number 1 of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. And we're set to go green next time around. You know, one of the things that I'm sure spotters talk about, teams talk about, if it's a young kid driving, dad talks to the driver about, and of course the officials, race director Glenn Luckett preaches about during the driver's meeting today, it's the first of 9 nights. Be patient. Don't take any chances. You want to be here all 9 nights. But accidents still happen, and we've seen it a couple of times on opening starts. We saw it in the Sportsman. We saw it now in the super late models. Here we go again to try it for Derek Griffith. For Max Callis, our front row starters, 6th and 5th in qualifying. Underway, clean and green so far, and again, a good run for Smith, thinking about a 3-wide move, and gets back in line in turn 1.
And you could see it initially, that 148 of Callis did not get a good start out of turn 4. That car shimmied a little bit as he spun the tires. Actually recovered pretty nicely. But Sammy Smith and that KBM Toyota, he'll go to second now. Battle for third as Anthony Sergi in the 20 looks to the inside.
Sergi side by side for the 3rd position with Callis. Brad May, track champion, moving up behind him. Picked up a handful of feature wins in 2019 at this track. And his super late model effort has stepped up over the last couple of years. He's going to be one of the favorites this week as well after setting fast time and qualifying earlier. Here comes a former champion as well, Ryan Moore, in a sharp-looking 74.
To his inside, the 21 machine of Jesse Love as they battle back for the 6th spot. Ooh, he got loose. He got down on that apron, and Ryan Moore's going to get to the outside wall. Augie Grill nowhere to go, and he gets collected. And looks like the 9 of Trey Bain also involved. And we could see that coming there, Adam. I mean, you hate to see it because there were a couple of contenders for this World Series championship. Hey, it's not one. But this is a huge setback for those guys.
And there goes the 9 of Bain away, rear end broken on that race car. You can see it back and forth it goes. Now he'll park it and he'll wait for the tow truck. See the blinking light underneath? That's the scoring transponder that helps timing and scoring get the laps correct each and every time by. And all of the cars have those mounted on the frame.
I thought his car might be a drone. No?
It hasn't lifted off yet.
Well, it got close.
It almost did.
It got close.
Unfortunate break for Augie Grill. You see the suspension on the right front badly damaged, bodywork damaged. Like with Augie Grill, I don't think it's anything more than suspension the way he hit. Not frame, I would say. Most likely just some suspension damage and body damage to the 112. For the two-time Snowball Derby champion who's climbed out from behind the wheel of the 112 race car.
Brand new Gark chassis, as we mentioned. And not the way that Augie Grill wanted to get his World Series started.
He's already surveying the damage. What do I need to do to fix this race car to get it ready for tomorrow night?
And can I? And, you know, Ryan Moore in the 74 machine, he made pretty hard contact with that outside wall out of turn 4. We're going to see a replay here on NBC Sports Gold here in just a moment. But as we were watching it, some of that youth and inexperience, Ryan Moore out of his car number 74, but Jesse Love looked like he got down on that apron with the car number 21. And as he did, it pushed up the racetrack. Trey Bain out of the 9 car as well.
Trey Bain walking around his Jet Concrete race team car. First effort for him behind the wheel of this number 9.
Yep, his brother Trevor, the 2011 Daytona 500 winner. And you see the 21 got down on the apron right there, and it upset the car. And, you know, had all of these cars not been so close together, maybe Ryan Moore in that 74 gathers it back in. And Augie Grill just caught him in the rear there, and then pretty hard contact, a lot harder than I thought there for Trey Bain. Check this out. Whoa, right at the camera.
Great shots.
Not how you want to get to victory lane. He drove right through it.
Absolutely not. Trey Bain talking with officials, sitting on the wall, and the damage to that car probably as much as any of the other cars in this. Ryan Moore's car took a hard hit, too, hit the wall on the right side and got hit by Grill's car on the driver's side.
Well, see, that's the thing. And, again, I think he almost had it gathered, and I don't think he would have hit the outside wall quite as hard as he did. But when we look at the replay here, again, watch Augie Grill in the 112 once the 74 gets sideways, and he's going to catch him right there.
Yep.
And that sends him.
Just almost missed him.
Yeah.
Really, if he could have just checked up one split second earlier, he would have missed it. But happens that fast, super late model competition, and 3 of our fastest race cars.
There it goes.
Just love, you can use that apron to your liking. Sometimes it upsets the car, and that time it definitely upset it. The car that's got to probably sustain a lot of damage there is the 74, Ryan Moore.
And that 9, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And basically what he was doing, he was coming off the corner, and you see these cars check up in front of the red car of Trey Bain, and he basically just had to turn it down left to miss Jake Garcia. And, boy, he pounds this wall, and that is a concrete wall. There's no safer barrier there.
Definitely knocked the rear end over and at least right front suspension. There's Augie Grill, veteran. He's had kind of a rough day. His Florida Modified earlier went down the front straightaway during practice, and huge plume of smoke coming out of the car. We thought that he exploded his engine when we found out an oil line came off, and he put oil down and plenty of smoke, and he was just walking over toward his Florida Modified right there.
And remember the last time, well, not the last time we saw Augie Grill races, but 2 races ago in the Snowball Derby, he absolutely pounded the wall in turn 4 at Pensacola as hard as anybody I've ever seen.
Sometimes the hits come one after another, and that has been the case for Augie Grill as of late, as you see the cars parked on our backstretch. 3 laps into the books for our scheduled 35-lap feature for the super late models. Derek Griffith from the Northeast is our race leader. Sammy Smith in second, Anthony Sergi third, fourth is Max Callis, and Brad May scoring in fifth right now.
And, you know, we talk about that car number 21 of Jesse Love, a car out of the Wimmer Motorsports stables. Harrison Burton won the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing Championship with the Wimmer team a few years ago. The one thing you got to give Jesse Love is, 15 years old, but this is what he's here for, is to gain experience in stock cars and to gain experience in pavement racing. Two-time 5150 Energy Drink late model champion. He's won some midget championships out west. And he'll learn from this, but that's go tell that to Ryan Moore.
Ryan Moore carrying the deck lid on his 74.
Yeah, you'd never want to do that.
No. It's probably about the only straight piece on the race car. It doesn't look to be in that bad a shape, but he's taking it off the back of the car, and heavy damage. And I just mentioned a lap before that how nice this car looked. Kind of a different paint scheme for Ryan Moore here in 2020. And now it's badly damaged. A former champion of the super late model, so he knows how to get it done here at New Smyrna Speedway.
Glad you're watching. First time the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing has been on NBC Sports Gold. Make sure to let your friends and family know about it, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter. Use hashtag trackpass and tell everybody there's going to be a lot of great pavement short track racing over the next several days, all the way through next Saturday, February the 15th, here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold.
Left side of the car doesn't look too bad. The right side taking the hit with the inside wall, and actually didn't damage the body all that bad. Just took the hit on the right rear, which, of course, broke the rear end, and right front, most likely, definitely been a rim. You can see that, most likely getting the right front suspension, but the front of the car actually held up pretty well.
And as you said, the frame, the clips. Whenever people mention the clips, if you look at where the 9 is, the center part of the car, there's a front clip that joins on to the center part of the chassis and a rear clip that joins to the back part of the chassis. And I don't think he's going to have to replace the clips.
Most likely not. I think he's definitely has some damage to fix on the number 9.
I hate when I break a rear end.
Yes. Not a good deal.
No. Hey, look, that's my hand.
Hi, Alan.
Let everybody see you.
Getting some TV time. I'm here as well. As I get some shots, Kyler, from down on Pitt Road. This is kind of our home for a whole week, Alan.
Yeah. And Kyler, actually, our cameraman down there, he's the one that got the car as it came and hit the inside pit wall there.
And there's the 21 of Love, who was involved in the accident. Got down on the apron, car wiggled, slid up into car of Moore on the outside lane. Again, I don't think this car sustained any heavy damage that I'm aware of.
And he's another one of these young drivers coming through that Toyota Racing Development Program that we've seen Christopher Bell come through, Eric Jones come through. Just so many young drivers that have come through that pipeline of Toyota Racing Development, and I don't think anybody right now has got a program as good as Toyota does. When you look at it from dirt cars, midgets, up through sprint cars, up to late models, and then through trucks. I mean, they have just got a very, very good program that they've set up to bring these young drivers through.
See some of the drivers middle of our pack. 50 of young driver Jet Nolan, the 13's Austin McDonald, making a second World Series appearance, ran the Prolates last year. Justin Mondyke in the 44 car. The 12, we saw him involved in the first yellow of the race. Brad Casso in the 01 of Vincent Staggs.
Since we don't really have anything else to talk about right now, could you plug my phone charger in?
I got you, Alan. I will
Thanks.
help you out. You know, it's a long week, plenty of charging goes on during the week and recharging of bodies during the week as these pit crews, these teams, the fans, the officials, everybody puts in a hard week of work.
Looks like you're having a hard time with this phone charger right now.
Well, I don't know.
You put the prongs in.
I got it.
Okay.
You getting
there we
anything
go.
yet?
Perfect. I got some juice now.
All right.
Thank you. Hey, look, there's our buddy Will down there. I hope he's
getting
busy
some
at
heat.
work.
I think he's staying warm.
I can promise you in about 2 days nobody's going to need that fire barrel.
Will's waving toward turn 4. He's not as good at spotting the cameras as
hey,
we
look,
are.
Ma. Tell him to turn around, guys, so we can see Will. Ugh, you don't want to see that.
The double wrecker in Ryan Moore's car. As he will. That car is used up.
The only thing worse is when the wreckers actually run into each other, which we have seen before. Or when the wrecker's towing a wrecker. We've seen that before, too.
Push trucks pushing push trucks.
Yeah.
Happens quite a bit.
You know, in all seriousness, this is our first chance to do a stream since Craig Murto passed away. And Craig, a longtime publisher and editor of Late Model Racer magazine, lost a battle recently to cancer, and just want to send our thoughts and prayers out to his wife and family and let him know that everybody here at New Smyrna Speedway miss him and are thinking about that family. Car's red flagged over on the back straightaway. Hey, anytime you come here, Adam, to New Smyrna Speedway, when you're right down the road from Daytona International Speedway preparing for the biggest stock car race in the world next Sunday, you always have great guests that come out to see the racing action here. And besides the fans and sponsors and media members, you also see a lot of drivers that used to race here at the World Series or used to race here at New Smyrna Speedway. And I know a lot of those drivers are coming over here over the next few days to come back and support grassroots short track racing.
These drivers ready to get rolling again.
And they want to get over there. They want to get to that same place about, 30 minutes up the road, maybe up to Daytona?
Not a far trip. I did make the trip from our beach house earlier today.
Bragger.
Headed up to do a little. I didn't go to the racetrack, though. I just went to one of the hotels or the resorts along the water.
We were trying to get it set up to say that one of those drivers that has come over from Daytona International Speedway, we believe this is Chase Elliott. We're almost positive it's Chase Elliott.
We could just say that it is because he won't face the camera.
Or maybe Will could go over and tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, just look
Will
this way.
wouldn't know which way to point him to.
Yeah, because he was looking the wrong way already. Yeah, hey, that's Chase Elliott. It could be Bob Elliott. It could be Billy Smith. Who knows? We think it's Chase Elliott.
He looks about like the size of Chase Elliott, so let's say it's Chase. And we've seen him at World Series in the past. You know, New Smyrna Speedway was a tough place for him. It wasn't the easiest place for him to win super late model races, and he won super late model races about everywhere he went. But he had some tough battles here.
I recognized his hands while he was,
how he texted.
Yeah, and he was, saying, hey, I'm watching #trackpass on NBC, at NBC Sports Gold.
Right. Everybody's messaging him now saying that they saw him.
Yeah. Why don't you turn around?
Coverage, yes. Well,
these are the things that we do and we don't have anything to really talk about.
And we're trying to shed a little light on some other things other than seeing a few tore-up cars. We hate to see that early in the week. It's just, it's disheartening for the teams that do get tore up. But here's the good news. There's plenty of week 2 recover. And a lot of the teams, even though they tear up their car on night 1, many will repair them. They'll spend long nights in the garage. They'll spend long nights in the infield. They'll do whatever they can do. And there's many spots around here where teams say, hey, you know what, you can come over and use our garage for the night to repair your car. And there'll be a lot of that goes on during the week as well.
Hello to our good friend Matt Dillner watching on NBC Gold. He says Duck, which don't ask me how I got that nickname, Duck on trackpass. Quote, hey, look, that's my hand. Smiling emoji, smiling, crying emoji.
Yes.
A couple of those.
Crying and smiling.
Yeah.
He's got a mix of emotions, I think, going on. Coming to green, Alan Dietz. We've got Derek Griffith, the leader in the 12, has chosen the inside lane. Sammy Smith, can he do it from the outside lane? The restart, and we're back underway.
Watch Sammy Smith here going down into turn number 1. Will he try to get down in front of Derek Griffith? He doesn't have to. He gets the run on the outside. He'll take the lead down the back straightaway.
It was close, and it was a good restart for Sammy Smith. He was on the outside lane, and when they get to that final line in turn 4, the leader of the race, the one restarting, has to be ahead of the other, and it was about dead heat at the line. As we're side by side for third, Anthony Sergi, a track regular in the 20, racing on the low side of the 48, the 148 of Max Callis. So Jet Nolan in the 50 starting to make some moves as well.
Sorry there. I'm really impressed with Callis in that 148. I think he's going to gain a lot of experience this week. He's already had a good qualifying run. If he can get in behind Anthony Sergi, a former track champion here at New Smyrna Speedway, 3-time winner here in 2019, who's worked his way up to third. But now he's got another track champion back behind him, the 2-time defending track champion, Brad May. Looking strong right now here in that white car number 9.
Brad May, the top qualifier for night number 1. Of 7 nights for super late models, 9 overall, looks to the inside off of turn number 4. Unable to make the move so far, 28 laps to go. The ticker across the top of the screen here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold will show you all night tonight and throughout the week where your favorite driver may be running throughout the race, as well as our lap count and how many to go. Side-by-side battle, there's the 13. McDonald making a move on Jet Nolan.
Young Austin McDonald driving for this King Racing team that we've seen Maine's Cassius Clark win a lot of big races with in Canada. Austin McDonald, a lot of success in Legends cars in Canada, and doing a pretty good job here underneath Jet Nolan. It gets hot and look in front of them. Brad May.
Yeah. Two-car battles going on, and man, up the track a little bit goes McDonald, gets on the binders hard, able to stay alongside Nolan. May's been able to make the move on the 148 of Callis, and they're closing despite being side-by-side on Callis. This is going to get dicey.
Whoa, look at that.
Contact, middle of the straightaway, they continue in the right direction.
Oh, man, they have really been basically beating and banging the 50 of Jet Nolan and the 13 of McDonald for basically a lap now as they close in here on Max Callis trying to take 4th away.
And if you're a spotter, are you telling them, guys, remember, we have 7 nights of racing to go for super late models. Let's take it easy, guys.
But see, again, you and I, we get to call a lot of these streams of these longer races, and these drivers, this is what you'd call a Friday or Saturday night typical race for super late models around the country, going out and racing for all of it, 35 laps, win or go home.
It's a battle right now for the 148 of Callis. He is in the 5th position. McDonald, once it gets to the inside, makes the move on the front straightaway. This should be able to be a run good enough to get him past the 148. They go up the track in 1 and 2. Good run on the outside lane. You keep that momentum up in groove number 2 as Callis does, heading down the backstretch.
Callis just really struggling to keep that car down on the bottom. And Austin McDonald is back behind them. You see a car, I believe that was Justin Mondyke in the 44 car that got sideways out of turn 4. We continue to watch this great battle.
You know, Callis coming from the dirt track ranks. Maybe he's trying to find that cushion up on top of the racetrack.
I don't know if he wants to do that here or not.
He's running pretty strong for his first super late model start of Speed Week on the outside of McDonald, a young driver that ran here in pro late models a year ago, running supers here in 2020. And on the inside, that battle for the 5th spot continues.
Man, that's a great race. Austin McDonald now able to take the 5th spot away. Callis will drop back to 6th in front of the 50 machine of Jet Nolan.
And Nolan, after that heated battle a little while ago with McDonald, you saw Garcia sideways coming off of 2. Saved the car. Garcia running in 10th, has dropped now back into the 11th position as Love starts to move forward in the 21.
You know, you mentioned Chase Elliott. his crew chief in late models, Ricky Turner, now the crew chief on that car number 35 of Garcia. And pretty much ever since they moved up to super late models, they have been fast. But, you know, like you mentioned, Chase Elliott never could quite find a combination on a consistent basis here at New Smyrna. And Jake Garcia is struggling in the 35 tonight.
Saw for a moment the leader, Sammy Smith, in the Kyle Busch Motorsports number 51 entry, the 148 of Max Callis. He's running in the 6th position. Jet Nolan would like to take it away. Following them, not too far back, the 44 of Justin Mondyke.
You know, you wonder if Callis here in this 148, is the car struggling, or maybe is he overdriving these corners? Again, these are all things that these drivers moving from dirt or moving from smaller cars up into super late models are going to learn if they can make it through the entire week here.
He's been able to hold off Nolan so far. We are past the halfway mark, down to the final 14 laps of the super late model feature on night number 1 of the World Series here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. Alan Dietz and Adam Mackey bringing you the action all week long, or plenty of live streaming coverage here from New Smyrna Speedway. They're starting to line up a little bit now as Mondyke has closed the gap for a 3-car battle. Right behind them, side-by-side action. Colin Garrett has just been overtaken for 9th by Jesse Love.
Ooh, they make a little bit of contact now. A lot of cars going to have those donuts on the side of them. You see just a small one at the 4 on the door panel there for Colin Garrett, but now Jesse Love will clear him.
Jesse Love not making any friends here on night number 1. Made the contact, incidental contact nonetheless, that caused some damage to some cars early in this race, and now up the track a little bit, got into the 24 of Colin Garrett. No harm done there as Garcia follows closely in the 35. There's some contact middle of the straightaway as here comes the 50 of Nolan to the low side, and he's going to be able to take the spot easily there from Callis.
Yeah, Callis really struggling right now with that 148 coming to 10 laps to go this time. He started outside of row number 2. He has fallen now all the way back to, I believe, the 8th spot. And he's got Jesse Love right back in behind Justin Mondyke, wanting to jump down to the inside of him as well.
That was 10 to go. Going to be down to the final 9 laps now. Callis in the 148 right in the middle of Mondyke. They're going around the Stag 01 machine, a car that's not on the lead lap. Stag's running in the 13th position.
See that damage on the right front of Stag 01 car after that contact early.
Back again to the 21 of Love, trying to recover. See, he's using plenty of front brake during this race. Those rotors glowing on the front end of that number 21 car. That's a great camera shot. When they come off of turn 4 and you see those cars wiggle back and forth and all the movement and the hands on the steering wheel.
I think it ought to be mandatory for race car drivers to all have to wear white gloves.
Makes it fun to watch.
Yes, it does.
Colin Garrett, 24, not his first World Series. He was in competition a year ago here at New Smyrna Speedway for the World Series. Kind of moving up a little bit here is now.
Look at those brakes.
Yeah, his glowing red, much like Love's are at this juncture.
Whoa.
And a short race, too.
Again, Callis in that 148, loose out of turn number 4. Can you imagine when these guys get to the 100 lapper, they're definitely going to have to do something different brake-wise, because if you look at that 24 of Colin Garrett, that is not going to make it for 100 laps.
He's using them up. 5 laps remain. Colin Garrett running in the 10th position, looking for 9th on the inside of the Callis machine, who started second in this race. But again, not a big surprise. You see him falling back a little bit. His first super late model start at the World Series. The leader, the 51 of Sammy Smith, out in front. Coming in, 3 laps remaining.
And when you drive for Kyle Busch Motorsports, this is what's expected. You're expected to go out and not only win races, but to go out and dominate races. Check that off the list right now for Sammy Smith here in his first start for Kyle Busch.
So Sammy Smith goes to Kyle Busch Motorsports and brings along a crew chief, and Anthony Campy, who has had fast race cars with his own equipment over the last number of years. So it looks like a pretty good combination right off the bat with a couple laps to go. coming to the white flag. 1 lap to go as we watch Colin Garrett battle. He does get around Callis. Jake Garcia trying to come along as well. And there's the leader, Sammy Smith, coming off of turn number 2, heading down the back straightaway into turn 3. Young driver, 15 years of age, from Des Moines, Iowa. And the number 51 claims the win for Super Late Models on night number 1. Derek Griffith, the veteran driver, still young in age, finishes second, less than a second behind Sammy Smith. Brad May takes the 3rd spot in the 9. Good run from the 6th starting position. Anthony Sergi finishes 4th. Austin McDonald takes 5th. Jet Nolan was 6th. Justin Mondyke was 7th. Jesse Love 8th. Colin Garrett 9th. And Max Callis finishes in the 10th position. But this race, all about Sammy Smith. He qualified 4th. He started 3rd. Took the lead early on a restart after one of our early crashes. And Sammy Smith, a dominant effort tonight. Wins by nearly a second over Derek Griffith. And starts as the leader of our championship battle that will go 9 nights. 7 of those will have super late models in competition. Sammy Smith, young driver, got to be happy with that first night effort. The first night behind the wheel of that Kyle Busch Motorsports number 51 entry. TMC Transport Machine. Mobile 1 on that car as well as he gets ready to climb out. As he wins tonight's battle with plenty of war still left throughout the week. Sammy Smith on the podium tonight with Derek Griffith and Brad May. As we will go ahead and send it trackside, we'll hear from Sammy Smith, who will be with Alan Dietz. Alan?
Thanks, Adam. Sammy Smith unstrapping, and he's going to climb out the winner on night 1 of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing for the Super Late Models. Congratulations here in Victory Lane from this Kyle Busch Motorsports crew. Brandon Setzer, Peter Jellin, and Sammy Smith. Man, oh man. You're expected to win whenever you race for Kyle Busch Motorsports. You pulled that one off, and this could be really dangerous this year for some of the competition. You looked awful good out there.
Yeah, I just can't thank all these guys at Kyle Busch Motorsports enough. TMC, Communication Dialing, Sinclair Tractor, and Toyota for all the help.
You won the Pro Late Model Championship last year here. How important is it for you to come out here and to win this championship in the Super Late Model?
I think it's really important, just try to back it up and keep getting these top 5s and wins, and we'll be there.
Great job.
Thank you.
We're going to work our way back and talk to our 2nd and 3rd place finishers. Derek Griffith coming home with the 2nd place finish. And we'll step in and get a word with Derek. And Derek, car looked pretty good, but just not enough for that 51. What were you guys lacking tonight?
Yeah, he was really good. We hurt the clutch today at some point in time, and I grabbed the gear on that first restart, and it ran right off the rib limiter down the whole front stretch. So same thing happened the second restart. So kind of got ahead of us there, and after that, it just, their guys were good enough to stay up front. We've been fighting a little bit of tightness all day, but we made a ton of gains for the feature. So, finishing second at KBM is not a bad thing by any means. So we'll change the clutch out, and hopefully that's the issue. And, take it from there. Good first night of Speed Weeks. We're in one piece. We're not in the wall. Everything's good.
Derek Griffith happy representing New England with a 2nd place finish, as we'll come back to our 3rd place finisher, Brad May, the 2-time defending track champion here at the World Series, here at New Smyrna Speedway. And we'll step in here and get a word with Brad. And Brad, man, the draw didn't work out for you tonight. You were the fastest out there in qualifying, and 35 laps you were able to get up to 3rd. Do you think you had anything for those guys in front of you?
I think so. The car was really good. The car's been really good here. The long runs, it's really good. You try to save a little bit in case there's a caution so you have something, but chances of getting a caution once we're all spread out is pretty slim. So I started running as hard as I could at the end, and we were, slowly catching them. But once they're so far out, it's hard to make that ground up.
How important is it for you to defend the home turf?
It's very important. No matter where I'm at, I want to run good. But I feel like this is a track that we, really run good at, and we're here every week. So, it's kind of our home track. So we do have a little advantage on that, and I feel like we need to try to defend it all we can.
All right, Brad May looking to pick up a couple of spots when the super late models return tomorrow night. Going to turn it back up now, topside to Adam Mackey.
Thank you, Alan, as we hear from our top three after our super late model 35-lap feature tonight. 3 features still yet to go on our first night schedule, as we have coming up the Pro Late Model 35-lapper, the Florida Modifieds in a 35-lap feature, and the Bombers going 20 laps, as well as the TMC 51 Kyle Busch Motorsports car of Sammy Smith put on a great effort. Here's a look at some of the highlights and lowlights from our first race for the super late models. Our original start saw the pile-up that involved David Rogers, the veteran in the 11, and he had no idea what was about to hit him in the right rear, and amazingly, some fuel from the overflow gets up on the wall and catches fire. There's the second restart, and this one, the big crash of the night so far, involving the 9, Trey Bain, a 112 of Augie Grill, the 74 of Ryan Moore. A little bit of contact there between Brad May as he made the pass, the top qualifier on Callis, who was falling back during the race. Saw some beating and banging there between Nolan and the 50. And Nolan a little more contact as he tried to make a run on Callis and did. And, of course, over the final lap, it was that 51 of Sammy Smith bringing it to victory, taking the win on night number 1 for the super late models here in the World Series. One of the younger drivers we have in competition in any class this week, and it's in a Premier Division super late model class, is Sammy Smith. I think kind of puts his name into the hat for a definite contender for the championship of the World Series. He was stout tonight.
Well, it's like we talked to him too, Adam. I think this has bigger implications than the World Series. You know, this combination of Sammy Smith, Anthony Campy, and KBM could be really, really potent in 2020 here in super late models.
Getting ready to roll will be the Pro Late models. They'll be up next. They're all aligned on pit road. Again, the first of 9 nights. We talked about our action for night number 2 on our Saturday. Then, of course, coming up on Sunday night at 7:30, we have the Super Late Model 35-lap feature. Modifieds of the Florida Modifieds will be running, and then the Pro Late models will have a feature event as well. Monday, things are really switched up for one of the big events of the week, as the ARCA Menards East Series comes to town, and they will be running in the new Smyrna 175. And have the Tour Type Modifieds on hand as well. And, you know, last year it was the NASCAR K&N East Series that was here. Same sort of series situation as K&N East and ARCA merged to do a ARCA East and an ARCA West, and then, of course, the ARCA Menards National Series. But that race, the K&N race last year, was rained out on Sunday night, so we moved on to Monday night. And when we did that, it made for a doubleheader of racing. We got to see all kinds of great racing, a great crowd on hand, and really made for a good show. And now the ARCA Menards East Series race moves to Monday night, so it's going to be with the Tour Type Modifieds and going to be a great doubleheader of racing on Monday.
And we hear it's been teased that a pretty big name in grassroots racing may be the 22nd car in that ARCA Menards Series East race. Could be nasty. You never know.
Could be.
Could be classy.
Should be a good battle.
You know what? We've mentioned our hashtag trackpass for our coverage of trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. Want to say hello to a few folks watching. Of course, our friends at NASCAR Roots covering the action. Andrew Higginbotham says, great job, Sammy Smith. Jacob, I love grassroots racing. It's just always so exciting. I've definitely got to get to one of these super late model races this year. JB, Terry Lambert, Zach Leffler, they're all watching. John, 36 in 8 days. David Sanford, I'm watching in Arcadia, California. I'm casting to my TV. I love it. Thank you so much. Byron Beck, watching World Series of Asphalt. Thanks at NBC Sports Gold. Byron Beck, Levon C., Michael Palmer, Jess Ballard. Of course, the girlfriend of the Snowball Derby winner, Travis Braden. She does a great job in social media. Snuggled in with some Olive Garden takeout watching that. We snuggled with some Olive Garden last night.
Yes, we did, and we did some in-restaurant eating of endless pasta, and then we left with a little bit more and filled our tummies. So she followed our lead from last night, I guess.
Well, you know, normally they say whenever you eat a lot of pasta, it'll make you tired. But
we were up till 4 in the morning talking about what was about to happen and what's happened in racing over the last 70 million years. So
and solving all of the problems.
Yeah, we solved them all.
Yeah, we got everything figured out. Everything from the problems with Iran and North Korea down to what's going on at Lakeview Speedway. I mean, we got it all covered.
I think we're starting to fire some pro late models up. I like what I see. Going to be a little short intermission, and we're going to roll a pro late model 35-lap feature onto the racetrack.
And again, remember, if you're watching on trackpass at NBC Sports Gold, use hashtag trackpass, and you may get your tweet mentioned. I'm Alan Dietz, Adam Mackey alongside, and we're so glad to be here with you for the first of, 9 nights now?
First of 9 nights,
First of 9 nights.
It's really the second for us because we were here for practice day. And you mentioned, you might get a tweet read on the air if you hashtag us. Of course, you're going to be reading all of the hashtag tweets because I don't do that Twitter thing.
Oh, that's right.
I do the Facebook thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And I do the text thing.
You could do like me. I just got on Twitter, at Real Alan Dietz. You could be, Real Adam Mackey or, maybe even at Adam Mackey. Could there be another Adam Mackey? Who knows?
There probably is. I think there are a few. As we get ready to go pro late model racing.
What is that one that says, great-looking announcers? Oh, wait a minute. That was what I was going to tweet.
That's what you were going to be your tweet?
Yeah, especially the one that doesn't have a lot of hair.
You would just have to use the old photo.
Oh, yeah. People would be like, what happened to that kid? 2 children and being married 13 years is what happened to that kid.
Follicle challenges.
No doubt.
Florida modifieds, they're yet to run. Bombers yet to run, but the pro late models are on track, ready to go first. As we get set for 35 laps of action from New Smyrna Speedway on night 1 of the World Series.
Matt Roper also watching on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. One of the top young producers in all of television is Matt Roper. Say nice things to me, and nice things will be said about you. But we are really glad that you're here watching as we get ready for tonight's 35-lapper here for the Pro Late models. As you see, they're lined up here on the front straightaway, rolling now. Connor Mosack in the car number 28 out of Charlotte, North Carolina, raced at Hickory Motor Speedway last year. Graduate of Legends Cars. He won the final Legends Track Championship at Concord Speedway. Nicholas Noggle in the car number 08 out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada. Finished 4th in 2019 Pro Late Model points, also 4th in Parts for Truck Pro Stock points up in the Canadian Maritimes. Back in row 2 will be the 28 of Bobby Wilberg from Beloit, Wisconsin, a regular at La Crosse Speedway. His outside will be the 51 of Hayden Sprague. He's from Livonia, Michigan. Starting back in the 5th spot be the 5 of Jerry Artuso out of Ontario.
Jet Noland out of Groveland, Florida. Saw him race in a super late model, starting in the 6th spot in the pro late model. Gio Selzy starting his number 16 car in the 7th spot. Hunter Wright out of Tennessee starting 8th in the 29. Jamie Skinner starting 9th in the 5. He's been fast throughout the practices this week so far. And Daniel Dye, young kid in the 43, starting 10th.
And those are your top 2 qualifiers. 10 cars inverted here for the Pro Late Models. Daniel Dye and Jamie Skinner, watch for them to come up from row 5. 1 to green indication starting back at 11th will be Jarek Johnson. 12th will be Mike Beyer in the car number 75. 13th, Christian Rose in the 55. Starting 14th will be Georgia's Hudson Haller in the car number 9. And Chuck Tuck in the 17 from Alabama. He starts 15th.
Rounding out our field of starters, Harold Crooms, Dario Carpiccio, the Peter McVeigh 73, David Weaver, Austin McDonald, Philip Bissett. Our final scheduled starters in this race. A 35-lap feature. Connor Mosack on the pole. In the 28, Nicholas Nago on the outside. Here we go. Prolates on the racetrack, and we're already spinning tires and getting sideways in turn 4.
Yep, Connor Mosack, big time in that car number 28. That is a brand new Rowdy Manufacturing chassis for Connor Mosack. And again, he gets loose down on the bottom. Nicholas Noggle, both of these drivers, Legends graduates. As Noggle's going to take the lead, looks to lead lap 1.
And Nago will lead the first lap across the line. Driver from Nova Scotia, and you see Artuso in the 5. Some contact back in the field with the number 29 ride of Hunter Wright. Side by side, they continue to race.
Oh, look out, Bobby
look
Wilberg.
out.
He gets down on the apron in that 28 after contact from Jet Nolan. How in the world did we not just wipe out about 8 cars there?
Deep breath and continue on.
And a lot of luck.
Wow. See the number 16 ride of Gio Selzy. A lot of young drivers we've never seen raced before, and especially here at the World Series for a number of these competitors. And this is kind of the class where young kids start to try to get their experience, and that can make for some hairy mishaps like we almost saw moments ago, but a great job by all the drivers to continue in the right direction.
But you have got some veterans like that 76 of Jarek Johnson, Jerry Artuso in that 5, Jamie Skinner.
Artuso brought a pretty good race car. He was fast throughout practices, put a good qualifying lap together, and Artuso moving forward so far as it's tight racing back here. Jarek Johnson in the 76 kind of boxed in right now.
Johnson in that My Computer Career POWMIA Freedom Car 76, trying to work around Byron Milberg. And now Byron the 75, he'll go up to the outside. He's able to move around and move into 10th now. Here with 30 laps to go, just 5 completed, working lap 6 this time.
Jarek Johnson going to take his number 76 to the outside lane. Pretty good run out there, and will make a move. We haven't seen too many drivers just throw their car up into the second groove and pull off a pass like that, and Johnson looks good out there.
But again, remember, like these Sportsman cars, these cars have about 150 less horsepower than the Super Late model. And if you can get up on that outside, keep it wound up, as they say, and keep the guy on the bottom bound up, just as we saw there, you can make it work. And that's what Jarek Johnson did in the 76. Hudson Halter in the 9 going to try to do the same.
Halter moving up. Saw Halter racing at Speedfest just a couple of weeks ago when we were in action for the Champion Racing Association there. And up against the wall goes Halter, coming off of 4, continues on a side-by-side battle back in the field. And that battle is for the 12th position right around mid-pack. Up front, clean and green, Nicholas Noggle leading the way. Connor Mosack runs in second.
And look who is back in third. That's that car number 51 of Hayden Sprague, one of the Mike Skinner racing machines, a team car to Jamie Skinner. And he's doing a good job. And Hunter Wright in that car number 29, they're all pretty close right now as we got a battle for 6th. There goes the 2 fast qualifiers.
That
Skinner
was close.
Skinner into 5, and you can see that damage on the right rear of his Toyota. Just able to clear Daniel Dye.
Ish.
That's right, clear-ish.
Clear-ish. As we're nose to tail toward the front of the pack, and it's going to heat up even more over the final 24 laps of this one as the fast qualifiers are moving forward. And those drivers are Jamie Skinner in the 5, Daniel Dye in the 43, as they battle back from 9th and 10th in their starting spots. That right there is Hayden Sprague in the 51 and Hunter Wright in the 29. And Wright's moved up from 8th to 4th, so he has had a good run so far.
The defending Tennessee State Semi-Pro Asphalt Legends champion is Hunter Wright in that car number 29. Here are the leaders, about 2.5 car lengths. Nicholas Noggle leads over Connor Mosack, and Mosack trying to close back in now.
And Mosack 28 car running pretty strong, and I believe we found out yesterday Travis Braden kind of here helping out on that 28 team, kind of as a driver coach, and obviously Travis Braden real knowledgeable with working on race cars as well, so he's good help to have. And right now, Mosak looks good.
Definitely closing the gap as they go back into turn number 1. As I said, although Noggle in that 08 is from Nova Scotia, and Mosak in that car number 28 is from Charlotte, North Carolina, they've actually raced a lot against one another back in big Legends Cars events. Noggle moved up into pro late models a couple of years before Mosak, and Mosak raced late model stocks and Legends Cars last year in North Carolina, and making the move to pro late models this year.
Still relatively early in this race. We're closing on the halfway mark of this 35-lapper, and Mosak's 28 car has closed that gap on Noggle. Noggle, we've seen him here at the World Series before. Mosak trying to take the number 1 spot away. We look back in the field a little bit. Cars bouncing around throughout our top 5 or so. The 51 of Hayden Sprague runs in 3rd, but it's heating up, and now here goes Hunter Wright. He says, my car's quicker. I'm going to the 2nd lane.
Yep, and we've seen it more with these pro late models. He'll pull the pass off on the outside. Now, what's Jet Nolan going to do?
Oh.
He's thinking about going to the outside, but he's having to defend from the 5-car Jamie Skinner. And the 43 Adai, he'll go to the inside of Sprague.
Definitely showing a racetrack that can run 2 grooves, and Skinner puts it out there. His car too free in the outside lane. He nearly lost it. Nolan's going to be able to pick up a spot on Sprague down in turn 3. Here comes Skinner along to the inside as well. He'll move up another spot, and Daniel Dye, the top qualifier, comes along as well as they have a few more spots to go to get to the front of the pack. Race going clean and green so far, 19 laps into the books.
Daniel Dye, young man out of Daytona Beach, Florida, announced today 5 ARCA East starts for Ben Kennedy Racing, starting right here Monday night at New Smyrna Speedway as we go back to this battle for the lead. And Mosak is right there. Noggle in the 08. Can't afford to make any slip-ups now.
Just waiting for the right moment to pounce, and his aggressiveness may pick up over the last 5 to 10 laps. Right now, still 14 laps to go. They've built up a big advantage, over a second over the 3rd-place car, so they've got a little bit of breathing room over Hunter Wright. But Hunter Wright's cars come from 8th position to 3rd. We've seen him go to the outside lane. We know he has a fast race car. He may close the gap.
Speaking of breathing room, Connor Mosak, he's got my favorite sponsor here so far at Speed Weeks. Nick Taylor Custom Fit Underwear.
Breathing room, I get it. 13 to go. Going to be 12 to go the next time around as Mosak looks to the outside lane, drops back toward the bottom of the racetrack. Noggle. You see these cars running much a similar lane as we saw earlier today when the Sportsmen were on track, trying to keep the momentum up as they go around the 117, going down a lap, fill up the set.
This time just 11 laps to go, and Noggle has actually been able to stretch it out a little bit as we continue to watch this battle back between Jamie Skinner in the 5 and Daniel Dye.
5th and 6th on the racetrack. The 5 of Skinner running in 5th. Son of Mike Skinner running in 6th. Daniel Dye. 43 car. Daniel Dye's improved, gained that experience over the last year or so. We were able to see it at Speedfest, and we see it now again.
And we're going to see Daniel Dye a lot this year in super late model racing as well. Great kid to follow on social media, on Twitter, and for you, Adam, on Facebook.
Watch him nose to tail coming off the corner. 5th and 6th on the screen. 9 laps remaining. Top 2 qualifiers running around and for the top 5 position. I think they'd be up there contending for a win if they got the yellow at the right time, but just buried themselves too deep with that big invert. And Skinner's really got his hands full.
And I'm sorry, but in short track racing, I love inverts.
Yes, I do too.
You know, these guys would probably be a straightaway ahead right now, and I think that this is just part of the strategy that you have to figure into these races at New Smyrna Speedway or elsewhere around the country where you do see inverts.
Dario Capircio moving over, going down a lap in the 03 car. As Daniel Dye continues to follow closely the 5 car of Jamie Skinner. Noggle leads. Mosak runs in second. Wright is third as you watch our ticker across the top of the screen. Clean and green for the first.
And that doesn't mean it's not been action-packed.
No.
I think we've seen as much action in this Pro Late Model race as any, and these drivers have done a really nice job.
As much passing, probably. You know, we saw a lot of passing in the Sportsman race. Smaller invert for the super late models than the pros, and obviously saw Sammy Smith take the lead early and run away. As we watch the 5th and 6th place cars, those are the closest cars in competition. We kind of go back to the front, as again, Mosak is within striking distance. He's trying to set up another run, 4 laps to go.
He's closed it in here just a little bit again as they work down the back straightaway. Fastest car on the racetrack may be the 50 machine of Jet Nolan. He's back in 4th. He is not going to be close enough to challenge these drivers without the aid of a caution, though, as they head back to turn 1 now with 3 laps to go.
First and second, pretty much nose to tail. Car length or 2 in between. 3rd and 4th, they're in a little bit of a battle as well. 5th and 6th, kind of 2-car tandems right now. It's not against the rules to have a 2-car tandem here at New Smyrna Speedway. 2 laps remain for Nicholas Noggle.
It doesn't always work so well, though, if you start bump drafting as we got a spin here just in front of the leaders. That's the 55 of Christian Rose out of Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Nicholas Noggle is shaking his head right now, saying, "You've got to be kidding me. I'm on my way to my first World Series victory in Pro Late Model competition." And we have a spin that brings out the first yellow of the race. The spinner, Christian Rose.
And Jet Nolan, I think, in that car number 50, is licking his chops right now. He was maybe the fastest car on the racetrack.
Hunter Wright looked pretty good as well.
And prior to that caution, they were about a second and 3/10 behind the leaders. That's going to go away. And you know what we were saying about how clean this race has been?
Oh, don't do it, Alan.
With a green-white checker, just saying.
Could get a little dicey now because it's on the line. These drivers were doing a great job, and especially because of the youth in this field. You would think that maybe they would be more caution-prone early in the race than a couple of the classes we've seen so far, with the youth and inexperience out there, and drivers that don't or maybe haven't raced with one another before all across the country, but they had done a great job to this point, and now it's a 2-lap shootout.
If you're watching on TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold, remember, following the conclusion of tonight's Pro Late Model race from here at New Smyrna Speedway, we'll still have a 35-lap feature for the Florida Modifieds and a 20-lapper for Adam Mackey's favorite, the Bomber cars. Remember, use hashtag TrackPass.
I'm going to let you call that race with me tonight, Alan.
Well, you know, I think the way it's working out, you're going to actually do the post-race interview, I think.
I've got some good questions worked up. I'm writing them down as we speak. I'm pre-writing them.
Oh, I saw you studying them about,
Earlier
3 hours
today,
ago.
Yeah. Worked on it hard today.
Yeah.
2 laps remain in our Pro Late Model feature event. And again, this is just a great thing for everyone to be able to watch the streaming coverage of our Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold all week long, all 9 nights of racing action from New Smyrna Speedway, the World Series. We're seeing some pretty dicey racing action over our first 3 features of the week.
And I know a lot of you folks that are watching may actually be coming down to Florida next week or later next week. Hey, if you haven't already got it planned, come out. Join us here at New Smyrna Speedway, just down I-95 below Daytona International. And we'd love to have you. This is a great facility for short track racing. As we get the 1-to-go indication now quickly, we'll take you through the top 10. Connor Mosak, actually Nicholas Noggle, the leader, he's going to elect to start on the outside. 28 of Connor Mosak on the inside of row 1. 50 of Jet Nolan, and the 29 of Hunter Wright. Jamie Skinner and Daniel Dieback in row 3. Hayden Sprague, Gio Selzy, Jerry Artuzo, and Jarek Johnson. The top 10 coming for a green-white checker, Adam. Hold on to your seatbelt here.
Good restart for the leader, Nicholas Noggle. In the 08, he comes across the line, the leader, and here comes Hunter Wright with him, the Lebanon, Tennessee driver. into the second spot from his fourth restarting position. Oh, he saves it off of turn number 2. Somehow keeps it off the wall. Going to be coming to the white flag. Noggle leads to turn number 4. Great save by Wright. He's still in a battle in the top 5 or so with Jamie Skinner on the final lap.
How did he do that as Nicholas Noggle leads out of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway? Hard racing back behind Noggle.
As Noggle comes off of turn 4, and the driver from Nova Scotia will claim the victory on night number 1 in the Pro Late Models.
Whoa, and look at that contact by the 75 machine of Byer. Man, oh man, you could not hit the inside wall any harder as that car got airborne. Whenever it came off the ground, Mike Byer, 49-year-old driver out of Rockford, Illinois. And we'll have to take a look once we get our replay queued up here on TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold to see what sent him sideways. But he absolutely destroys that machine. And right now the safety official's down with Mike Byer to check him out. Nicholas Noggle, the winner. Connor Mosack will finish second. Jet Noland in third. Daniel Dye in fourth, and Jamie Skinner in fifth. And a scary, scary incident coming to the checkered flag for the Pro Late Models here at New Smyrna Speedway. Adam Mackey is heading down trackside, and he'll get a word with our top 3 finishers. And we'll get this replay queued up for you to see what happened to Mike Byer. And let's take a look at our replay out of turn number 4. Byer gets sideways. And man, oh man, all 4 tires off the ground of that 75 car. Here it comes. Look at this, right at the camera. Great job by our shooter, Kyler Hope, down there. Man, and that is a concrete wall, folks. And thank goodness that that wasn't even more serious. And just as soon as we've got an update on Mike Byer, we'll give it to you as we take it down trackside now to Adam Mackey.
Nicholas Noggle wins night number 1 for the Pro Late Models. Nicholas, man, you had a good race car. 33 laps completed. Looks like you're on your way to victory. What were you thinking when that yellow flag happens and a spin down in 1 and 2?
I mean, we definitely weren't looking for it, but at the same point, I was confident in my car. I was definitely ready for it, and honestly brought a little excitement to it.
Did you have to really think about whether to choose the inside lane or the outside lane for the restart?
There was definitely a little thought there, but I mean, I definitely have my preference here, and it worked out for us.
And it was a great restart.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely got all I could there.
Nicholas Noggle, a driver from Nova Scotia, winning the 08. He wins on night number 1 at the World Series in Pro Late Model competition.
Thanks, Adam. And we have got confirmation from down trackside that Mike Byer, the driver of that car number 75, who we just saw in that horrific accident on the final lap, is okay. So the word from track officials, he is okay. And that is awful, awful good to hear. As Adam Mackey works his way down to our second place finisher. And we'll go down to him now and get a word with Connor Mosack.
Second place finisher Connor Mosack in the 28 car. Man, you had a great car tonight. It looked like it was going to be pretty strong. You got up and battled with him for a little bit. Then you fell back. Then you got back up. You had another chance on the final restart. Did you think you had enough?
Yeah, I think we definitely had the speed. We needed some better restarts, really. I think that's where we needed to pass him. I don't think we quite had the speed to get by him on the track, even though we definitely were able to track him down. I was burning myself up trying to get under him every lap, and so that's why we fell back, and then was able to come back to him, but just wasn't enough.
What did you think of your first World Series start?
I think, for where we qualify and everything, I think I felt pretty good about it.
Are you looking forward to the rest of the week?
Absolutely. As long as we can keep the nose clean, I think we can have a good week. Our Nick Taylor, Interstate Foam Supply Chevy, was pretty good tonight. So just thanks to all the KBR and all the guys.
Connor Mosack, good second-place run for the 28.
Thanks, Adam, and thanks, fans, for watching here on NBC Sports Gold. Still modified, Florida modified action and bomber action tonight here from New Smyrna Speedway as Jet Nolan, he comes home in third. He's now with Adam Mackey.
For the number 50 of Jet Nolan finishing in the third spot. Man, a busy night for you tonight, running double duty. 2 pretty good runs.
Yes, sir. In our super run, we had a pretty good run. We're missing a little bit of power going down straightaway, a little bit of motor problems, but hopefully tomorrow we can get it fixed. And then for our pro race, we had a little bit of traffic on the beginning of the start and kind of messed us up. And I felt like we started running down the front of the pack and caught third place and really couldn't get around them. We had about 3 laps left, and they threw that caution, and he got squirrely on the back stretch, and that was the end of it. Finished third.
Looking forward to the double duty all week long?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to the double duty. Yeah, this is what I love to do is race. So.
And he did pretty well tonight, finishing third in the Pro Late Models.
Thanks, Adam. Nicholas Noggle, the winner. Connor Mosack in second. Jet Nolan, Daniel Dye, and Jamie Skinner, the top 5. Hunter Wright will finish 6th. Hayden Sprague in 7th. Gio Selzy in 8th. Jarek Johnson, 9th. And Jerry Artuso in 10th. If you're watching on NBC Sports Gold, use hashtag trackpass on Facebook or Twitter, and we might read your comments live on the air. Louis Robinette says, great racing on hashtag trackpass. Justin Mondyke, P7 of 18 Super Late Models on night 1 of the World Series of Asphalt. Stayed clean. Learned a lot. Thanks, Mike Herman Jr. for the spot, and to NBC Sports Gold trackpass for covering the race. What a hit. Hope the driver of that car is okay, says JB Racing. Matt Libby watching hashtag trackpass in the man cave in Worcester, Massachusetts, as we take a look at our highlights of the Pro Late Models. Look at this move here by Jet Nolan trying to go through the middle, and then some contact with that 28 of Hilberg almost sends him for a spin. Just great racing here. Late in the race, restart. Nicholas Noggle gets the advantage over Connor Mosack. Hunter Wright looked like he was going to go up the second. Car gets loose, just taps the outside wall, somehow straightens it out, while Nicholas Noggle takes the win. Look at this contact out of turn number 4 for Mike Byer. Our director, Mark Keeler, says that might be the hardest crash he's ever seen here at New Smyrna Speedway. And Nicholas Noggle climbs out in victory lane. The winner of the Pro Late Model feature here at New Smyrna Speedway. Go back to our Twitter. Stacy Lynn, I really do love short track racing. Hashtag TrackPass. Jacob says 7 days into the month of February, and I already feel like I've gotten every penny worth that I spent on the hashtag TrackPass. Rich Mendoza, the action from New Smyrna Speedway on TrackPass is so hot it overheated my Roku. No worries, I just aimed a small fan at it. All good now. Michael Thorpe loving TrackPass on NBC Gold. Matt Dillner sleepover with Hudson waiting for the Mighty Modifieds. Loving the dynamic duo of Twitterless Adam and Duck at Real Alan Dietz. Thank you, Matt. Ben Kennedy Racing says you can follow the racing action at New Smyrna Speedway this week on NBC Sports Gold. Tiffany says it's race season, hashtag TrackPass. Justin Thibault, wow, hard hit for the 75 car. Bobby Roseman, I'll be at New Smyrna Speedway Monday through Wednesday, but this will do for now. Thanks, NBC Sports Gold. Remember, hashtag TrackPass if you're watching tonight's coverage on NBC Sports Gold.
Down to our final 2 feature events here tonight. For night number 1, Alan Dietz, what do you think of the World Series so far, your first visit to New Smyrna Speedway for this event?
Oh, I love it, and we've been able to watch it for the last number of years through NASCAR Home Tracks on Fan Vision and now on NBC Sports Gold. And I've enjoyed it just as these fans have over the years watching, and now to be here in person. And, you know, as a veteran now of 10 World Series, Adam, I think this, yourself, not me being the newbie, but I think this pretty good first night of racing so far.
It is. Tore up a couple more cars than I would have liked to see. You always want to see them get through night one if they can, keep it clean. But a couple of mishaps. Incidental. The stuff that we've seen for the most part hasn't been anything on purpose, but it happens, and it happened early in those first two features as the Florida Modifieds get ready to go. And actually, the Florida Modified is one of my favorite classes down here. I know a lot of the drivers get to see them race in the Midwest for a number of years, and then the other guys that haven't raced in the Midwest are guys that are veterans at the World Series, at New Smyrna Speedway. Guys that we know like Tank Tucker and Jerry Simons that have been racing here for so many years, go along with Wayne Parker, who is tonight's top qualifier.
How about that hit by Mike Bayer as we look just to the left of the screen there?
You know, and I didn't get to catch the replays that you guys were showing on trackpass on NBC Sports Gold when I was down getting the interviews, but I saw it live happen, at least the part where he was sideways and on the throttle and heading straight to the inside retaining wall. What actually started?
Here it is, Adam. You'll just take a look, and he got loose out of turn. Watch this.
Yeah. Awful.
And you see our shooter, Kyler Hope, there, and this is what he shot. Unbelievable. And let me tell you, I'll give it to him. He's 20 years old. He did not flinch. I'd be ducking behind that. Well, look at him right there.
Steady.
I've mentioned Matt Dillner a couple times tonight. I remember he and I were shooting a Goodies Dash race at Charlotte years ago. And we're watching this car in turn 4, and it's up against the outside wall, and it starts coming, and it's coming towards us, and it's coming towards us. And the next thing I know, I grab him, and we go down to the ground. It's like a landmine's going off, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Everybody's okay." And he picks the camera up, and the lens, it looks like a broken bamboo bat. I mean, it just was broken all to pieces. And he said, "Well, what are we going to tell them whenever we, get back to the media center about the camera?" I said, "Tell them that a race car was coming straight at us and we were scared we were going to get killed. That's what you tell them."
Did it work?
Yeah, we didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And he also told them, "Well, Alan grabbed me. I was going to stay right on it."
Right. You were just trying to save a life.
Well, that's what I thought I was doing.
Florida Modifieds lined up on pit road, Alan Bruns, and as he made a lot of starts in the World Series over the years, as he picked up his first World Series win in 2015 in the Florida Modifieds after so many starts over the years in limited late models, pro late models, Florida Modifieds, and that win was so big for the veteran driver. Well into his advanced age.
I don't know what I was trying to say about Matt's broken camera. I said a broken fishing rod or a broken piece of bamboo.
You've had more time to think about it. Have you got the thesaurus out?
Let me think about it. Well, like in karate when those guys chop the board.
Like one of those boards.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
That's what it looked like.
As the Florida Modifieds roll trackside. Tour-type Modifieds, they'll be coming up Monday night with the ARCA Menards E-Series. And a doubleheader of racing.
Other than V8s, these cars are totally different. They are a modified. They run on a very narrow tire. At certain places around the country, they have a lot of horsepower. They can have a lot of horsepower if they so choose.
You don't put so much to the track because of the smaller tire.
It's hard to get it down, and this is what you would call a UMP or IMCA style modified.
So you'll see these cars kind of skate around the track, slide around a little bit, coming off the corner, looking for grip. And as the races go on each night, tonight from lap 1 to lap 35 would be a big difference. You'll see a guy that was decent early slide around. It's like a long race almost for these guys. Whereas the Tour-type Modifieds, they are bolted, almost like they're on a rail, a slot car, as we talked about yesterday. And they even draft the Tour-type Modifieds on a half-mile racetrack. It's a whole different ballgame just because of those big, wide tires.
Let's take you through the starting lineup. Zach Stacy in the car number 6, Enon, Ohio. He'll start from the pole. Alan Bruns, we talked about him just a little bit earlier. A winner here, finished 4th in New Smyrna Speedway points out of Claremont, Florida.
Zach Knowles out of Houston, Texas, starting in the 3rd spot. He was the 2018 and 19 Modifieds of Mayhem Series champion, so we'll watch him. He raced here last year in the World Series for the first time. Jerry Simons, he's won 6 World Series championships, always a favorite in these modifieds, at 66 for the veteran driver. Right here in his hometown of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, starting 4th. Starting 5th, Bill Burba out of Germantown, Ohio, and Travis Eddy starting 6th, the 2-time World Series champion, and son of Mike Eddy.
Yep, Travis Eddy out of Beaverton, Michigan, one of the best in the Midwest. Augie Grill, he's been a winner here in the World Series out of Hayden, Alabama. Timmy Moore in the car number 15, M out of St. Petersburg, Florida. Tank Tucker, he's a guy you've seen win a lot here at New Smyrna Speedway over the years, Adam.
4-time World Series modified champion here is Tank Tucker in the 15, and he's second fast in qualifying. Earlier, Wayne Parker, the fast qualifier, and he's been one of the biggest winners the last couple of years in races here. Hasn't necessarily won championships, did win last year. 8 wins, was the New Smyrna Speedway track champion. He starts in the 10th position.
Norman Dismuke from Alturas, Florida, will start 11th. Scooter Bates in the car number 12. He's from Pauline, Texas. Brad Springer in the car number 61 from Hudson, Indiana, will start 13th. Galen Price, he's from Island Park, Iowa. He'll start 14th in car number 29. And David LeBeau from Daytona Beach, Florida, rounds out the field in the 16L.
Zach Stacy, the pole sitter, a young driver, the son of Mike Stacy, a veteran driver from the Midwest in the state of Ohio. Many-time modified winner and champion over the years was Mike Stacy. Also drove Outlaw super late models. But Zach, his son, starting on the pole position with Alan Bruns starting on the outside. And the story for Bruns just a few years ago when he claimed his first World Series win was huge because he had run here for so many years and had that win evade him. And as I watched these cars roll around the track, happened to notice the David Rogers 11 car going out on an open trailer, getting ready to head out. So my guess is that it's going to go to a shop and try to get some repairs done to get him back to this racetrack. Because that's a hurried move to get him out to, I'm sure, a local, and obviously the race team not too far away. He's from Orlando.
Yeah, he could go back to his own shop. And you mentioned Alan Bruns in that car number 4B, just to give you an idea of how long it was for him to get that first win here. 66 years old. And that's what you love. I mean, you got kids out here that are 15 years old. You got David Rogers and Alan Bruns in their 60s. Just great to see here at the World Series. And there's not any time that you'll come here for the World Series and not see some type of race car that you'll enjoy. Pro trucks will be here later in the week. Tour-type modifieds. You got mini stocks. You got limited late models. I mean, just anything you can think of almost on pavement, they race it here as part of the World Series at some point or other.
And we're about to go green next time around with these Florida modifieds. This is one of sometimes the best battles for the actual points championship during the World Series because you've got Jerry Simons, you have Zach Knowles, you have Travis Eddy, you have Augie Grill, Timmy Moore, Tank Tucker, Wayne Parker. Those guys are all capable of winning the point championship. And don't be surprised if somebody else steps up. Great qualifying effort for Bill Burba, a driver from Shady Bull Speedway in Ohio. Getting ready to go green off of turn number 4. Zach Stacy, Alan Bruns bring him in.
Whoa, look at this. Whoa, Stacy all over the racetrack there as he tried to get the power down. And he did a good job just not to get into any of those drivers that were racing around him.
And those drivers did a pretty good job to avoid him. He never got the power to the track, almost like something was wrong, and there's trouble in turn number 3. Around goes Moore. Wayne Parker spins. Augie Grill was involved. He and Moore got together going into that third corner as the yellow flag waves. And we did not get a lap in.
That was pretty wild.
Whew. That could have got real scary. And now Zach Stacy probably gets to do it all over again from the pole.
You think he wants to?
I'm not so sure. That was scary. And then, he drew some contact then, and then you thought maybe something was wrong with the car, but the tires were all up.
No,
he's coming.
Yeah. I think he's taking his place back, and I think that was the deal of just, again, it's a combination. A lot of horsepower,
little
small tire.
Cold conditions.
Exactly. And Wayne Parker, I mean, you talked about it. Mount Dora, Florida's favorite driver in that 1W. He won the track championship here last year with 8 wins. He is no slouch. But, you got guys, as you mentioned, like he and Tank Tucker that have got a lot of experience here at New Smyrna Speedway. And then you got other drivers here that don't have as much experience. especially in these conditions either.
Taking a look at the replay of what happened down here in the corner, 3 wide going into the third turn, and Augie just got into
he locked it up.
15 of Moore. And Timmy Moore we're used to seeing over the years in a black and green 57 car here at the World Series.
Watch Mike Stacy.
Yeah, Zach Stacy spinning the tires and left and right and caught up to the steering. Drivers go inside, drivers go outside, but was able to continue on.
And that was just really and honestly the spin and the caution was a chain reaction from the struggles that Zach Stacy had. He was still struggling going down into turn 3, and those cars back behind him were coming in, closing in pretty fast. Augie Grill locks up that left front tire on the 112, and again, just kind of a chain reaction.
You know, you've been talking all night long about the folks using hashtag trackpass, and you're able to read their comments.
You're going to have to,
I can also do this, but they don't have to hashtag. They just have to know my phone number so they can text me. So Rich Rohr checking in, veteran driver from Ohio, who is my hero growing up and still races and still wins races.
Yeah.
And has raced like 5 different decades at Midvale Speedway. I think like 6 decades coming up or something this year. He'll be real proud of me saying that.
I was going to say not to put any age on you or anything, Rich.
He just started really young.
Yeah.
Kevin Ramsell checking in with us from the upper Midwest, watching the coverage tonight. Casey LaJoy, who's caught a lot of the action with me over the last few years here at the World Series, he's checking in on our action.
You imagine
he was
if he was here?
He was impressed with the hand-painted decals on the number 4 car of Alan Bruns, actually.
Could you imagine if he was here, the 3 of us? That might be the last race we ever announced.
It'd be a little much. Getting ready to line these cars back up double wide.
And we joke about it because Adam is Twitterless Adam Mackey. That's what your handle need to be. At Twitterless Adam Mackey. Me and Mark just thought of that at the same time. It's real scary.
Boy, Zach Stacy's up there on the pole position and should have a little heat in the tires after spinning them all the way down the front straightaway, right?
You'd think.
He did a NHRA burnout.
Yeah. Well, you know that was all planned to get heat in the tires.
He knew there was going to be a first lap caution, so now he's in the driver's seat of the pole position car. And, of course, I believe this is his first World Series start. His dad, a veteran driver that raced many years in modifieds and outlaw late models, template late models, and picked up a lot of big wins. Won a number of Winchester Speedway rifles for modified feature wins. His uncle Dave Stacy built race cars, modifieds in fact, up in the state of Ohio. Getting ready to go green coming off of turn 4, 35 laps for the Florida Modifieds. Zach Stacy, Alan Bruns, Zach Knowles, 2-time Modified at Mayhem champion, starting inside of row 2. Much better start for Zach Stacy this time. In fact, he leads the field into turn number 1.
Well, we said that was the plan. He, just want to get some heat in the tires.
And I think drivers still tiptoeing a little bit. Bruns, one of those, slides back a little bit in the third spot to the inside. Here comes Jerry Simons for the third position.
Zach Knowles in the 51. He worked his way up into the second spot as Simons in that 66 now down the inside of Bruns, continuing to try to take third away. Great racing here in the early going for the Florida Modifieds.
Bruns caught in the outside lane right now, trying to get up to speed. Knowles up the banking a little bit, taking a look to the inside. The veteran Simons, top 3 single file, 2 wide for Ford.
And it looked like Knowles in that 51. He takes a look for the lead. Might have locked up the left front just a little bit last time they went into turn 3. Now Travis Eddy into 78, looking down the inside of Bruns as we've got a lead change. Here comes the 51 of Knowles.
And following him right through the opening is Simons. Here comes 17 and 19 champion of the Florida Modifieds here, Travis Eddy. Wasn't here in 2018, but he's won the last 2 times he's been here championships. As we see Bill Burba battle back in the field. He's side by side.
Bill
racing
Burba
into the corner with Brad Springer, an Indiana driver.
Bill Burba in that red car number 26 out of the Platinum Motorsports stables. We talked about Travis Brayton a little bit earlier. All of those guys racing for Platinum Express Racing. And now here comes Wayne Parker working his way back up at him.
Parker looks to the outside, and if there's a car that can come from the back of the field to challenge later in this race, it's Wayne Parker. We've seen over the last couple of years of Florida Modified Racing, he's fast. And fast right now is the Michigan driver. Travis Eddy in the 78, son of the Polar Bear. Mike Eddy from ASA competition, where he was a many-time champion. Travis looking to the outside, just hasn't been able to make that run quite yet to pull alongside Simons.
You know, and as you mentioned a little bit earlier, this is a very different race than what we've seen so far. These drivers racing a lot closer together. We see some like Knowles in that 51, and again, he did lock up the left front that time going into turn 3, as it looks like Bill Burba has a problem. But we see some guys charge the corner. We see some guys maybe not so much and try to get the drive off, but really a lot of distinct driving styles. Eddie in that 78 car trying to diamond the corners a little bit now.
He's going to go to the outside, make another run, the best that he's had so far at Simons. Drops back to the bottom as he diamonds off that turn 3 and 4, and couldn't quite get the run yet, but so many laps to go. Only 8 laps into this race, and Travis Eddy looks like potentially setting up to be the car to beat. Look at the run he gets on the backstretch on Jerry Simons.
Again, Simons in that 66 drives it in hard, and this is a perfect example, Adam, of what's so great about the World Series. Zach Knowles, the leader, Modified's a Mayhem champion. Jerry Simons, local favorite here at New Smyrna, and then Michigan's Travis Eddy there in the 78.
Drivers from all over the country in this Florida Modified event. And it'll be highly contested all week long. And I don't think you'll see many repeat wins in this class. There's a lot of good drivers, and one of them joining that battle right behind them, Tank Tucker's number 15. He looks like he's brought a strong piece to this 2020 World Series. You see Travis Eddy moving into the second spot. Now he sets his sights on Knowles.
And he did that on the high side. He worked that move for quite a while, and looks like Tank Tucker in that 15 machine might try to do the same. He had a peek of the outside of Simons.
Good looking car for Tank Tucker this year. Changed the paint scheme just a little bit. Travis Eddy, that paint scheme still the same. As he's closed the gap on Zach Knowles up front for the lead. That 78, maybe the fastest car on the racetrack. Caught the leader very quickly. Tries to get that run off at turn 2, and that line he's running is pretty good.
He's trying to set him up. I think Zach Knowles is going to try to do what he can to hold him off, as the caution is going to wave a car around over in turn 2, and I believe, yep, that's the 4B of Alan Bruns.
When he passed the finish line last time by, he was running in the 7th spot. This will relegate him to the tail of the field. Looks like we still have most of our field still running. 13 out of our 15 starters still on the racetrack. Only Bill Burba and Galen Price have gone pit side. Bruns can't get out of the grass. We had a lot of rain here last night, so all of the grass still a little bit damp.
And we got lucky. You know, we are going to enjoy some great weather according to the forecast here over the next week. And a lot of friends and family up in the Carolinas dealt with tornadoes yesterday, pretty heavy flooding. My children, Clinton and Hampton, in their elementary school yesterday, they were crouched down in the hall for 2 hours during all that severe weather in Charlotte, and up even farther north from there in New York and up in New England, a big snowstorm. So we're thinking about you watching here on NBC Sports Gold. And again, if you come down for Speed Weeks, come down and join us here at New Smyrna Speedway. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff you've seen here tonight, just some really great racing.
Even if you come down just for a couple of nights,
yep,
you're able to make it down for a weekend of racing. It's a great place to visit. Weather's great.
A lot of good restaurants.
Facility's very nice. A lot of great restaurants. Plenty of seafood places out on the water to go out and grab a bite to eat, which I may be doing tomorrow afternoon for my lunch plans.
Can I go?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
As long as you pay.
I think we know who we'd like to pay.
23 laps to go. 12 laps in, Zach Knowles. The 51 car is the leader, but he's going to have a battle on his hands because Travis Eddy is fast, and that's going to be a side-by-side battle for the restart because it's a double file restart here at the World Series.
And all of a sudden now you got Jerry Simons in third, but behind him Tank Tucker, and now Wayne Parker has made his way into the top 5. And, you know, just prior to that caution, I was about to say it. Zach Knowles well, I don't think he can do it now, because what I was going to say is his best option, I thought, was to protect that inside and make Travis Eddy try to get up to his outside. I say it's not. I don't think it's going to work now, because Zach Knowles has no momentum build up, and you would think the way Eddie's car is going that he should be able to get the lead going into turn 1.
If he gets a good enough restart and stays close coming to this starting line down in turn 4, it is a legal restart as Knowles hit that line first. But here comes Eddy to the outside, and he rockets by into turn 1. Wow, what a start for Travis Eddy.
Yep, and that worked out exactly the way Tank Tucker hoped as well, because he goes from 4th into 2nd by the time they get into turn 2 by virtue of starting on the outside behind Eddy.
I love the chrome rims on that number 15 of Tank Tucker. Sharp-looking race car has moved from the 9th starting position up to 2nd. There's Zach Stacy and Timmy Moore. They're sideways coming off of 2.
So a couple of battles there going into turn 1 and 2. Now Wayne Parker in that one gets run down the inside of Jerry Simons.
Remember, he was at the back at one point.
And you said it, if there's any driver that can work their way up from the back and have a shot at winning this race, it's Wayne Parker. And he's showing it right now as he's worked his way up into 4th. Now a battle here back for 6th. Zach Stacy trying to hold off the 15 of Timmy Moore.
Stacy, Moore, and Augie Grill. We haven't talked much about Grill in this race, but right now he's running in the top 10, looking to the outside. Big smoke came out of that car in practice earlier today. We thought he blew an engine. Fortunately, wasn't the case. It was just an oil line. Car was okay, and he's back on the track for the feature, trying to move up, closing in on the top 5. He gets to the inside of Stacy.
And I think Augie Grill, as we see these cars slide every which way out of whoa, and there's some contact. Around goes to 61 of Brad Springer, and it's going to collect several cars. Alan Bruns involved, the 16 car. I believe that's
David LeBeau.
Yeah.
Not heavy contact made. Bruns, Springer in the 61 pulls away. Bruns looks like he'll be able to pull away. LeBeau may have some suspension damage. I think he took a hit on the front of that race car. It's like body pushed in on the right rear.
And we saw those cars kind of skirting out of turn number 4. And again, the thing you got to remember, and you really see it from that angle going down into turn number 1 that I think we'll get the replay from, but how narrow these tires are. But these cars have got a lot of horsepower, but they don't have to have a lot of horsepower. Some teams opt for less to avoid, the slippage and the cars sliding around.
What you're going to see here in a little bit is the one car of Parker up battling among our top 4, and he has all kinds of horsepower, and it helps him get up and compete. He uses it to his advantage, and he rockets down the straightaways. Rear end moving around on that car, by the way. Is here's Augie Grill, Zach Stacy. We were watching them go down into the corner. Behind them, Springer closed the door on Bruns. Just nowhere for Bruns to go, and Springer didn't know that Bruns was there, most likely.
No, and if you look from this angle here in turn number 1, watch the 61 car, because he's going to try to turn down underneath the 6 of Stacy, and when he does that, I don't think he knew Alan Bruns was there and just came down on him. And back behind them, those guys were just a victim of circumstance. The other car involved the 12 of Scooter Bates.
Might have gotten the suspension on the right front. It looked like it was pointing outward whenever we saw it up in the corner. As Alan Bruns, tough night for him, had a good starting position outside of the first row. Back at it again for another World Series, and there you see the damage.
Adam, as much as we've talked about Travis Eddy and this car number 78 car, the leader, I think we got a whole different race than what we've seen so far shaping up. Because you're going to have Tank Tucker, as you mentioned, starting up to his outside, but you're also going to have Wayne Parker starting up to the outside of row number 2. I think it sets up really nicely for a great 3-car race to the finish here.
That it absolutely does, with 19 laps to go, so still a long race. And these cars will be sliding around big time by the time we get to lap 35. Travis Eddy, Tank Tucker, Zach Knowles, our top 3. Have some more tweets over there.
Yeah, listen to this tweet, and I think this is what Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold is all about. From It's You Home Slice. Bought track pass for IMSA. Loving the short track stuff. More than worth the money. Kathy Velt says, thank you for the coverage. My friend cannot come down due to serious health issues. He's watching at home. Say get well soon to hashtag Big Money Mats. Biggest fan, Sparky. So hello to you folks. Rafe Slate, we saw him at Watermelon Capital Speedway. Cool to see some other former legend car drivers up front at Speed Weeks. Denver Blair taking advantage of my track pass subscription to catch some great racing. Certainly better than watching the Democratic debate. He said it. The man has some good taste, is all I can say.
19 laps to go. Still rolling around the pace car with pace car lights on. Does pull to pit road, though, and we're going to go green. They just didn't turn the pace car lights off. Here we go for the restart. Travis Eddy gets a good one on the outside lane. Tank Tucker falls back to the third spot. Here comes Wayne Parker.
Yep.
Here we go. Horsepower against horsepower at the front of the field.
And you saw what Travis Eddy did there. He put Tank Tucker on the outside, or excuse me, on the inside, as he took the outside. That has, I think it varies, but tonight it has definitely been the way to go on these restarts.
Tucker up the banking a little bit in the third spot. Augie Grill, he really pushed up. He follows Timmy Moore, who's all over the back bumper of Simons going into turn 3.
Yeah, that's the race for fifth. What worries me a little bit about that, though, is we see a little bit of contact in front of them from Zach Knowles to the rear of Tank Tucker's car, but that 15 of Moore has really struggled with the handling. But I think at this point, I think even the cars that are running good are, you know, they're kind of slipping and sliding right now.
And as the race goes on, they get even more slippery and sliding around will be these cars in the Florida Modifieds as Parker has caught Travis Eddy. The lead battle with Travis Eddy actually pulling Wayne Parker down the straightaway. Some of that is how he sets the car and gets on the throttle early coming off the turn, but that's impressive for the 78 of Eddy.
The problem I think Wayne Parker has to be careful of, and I think, again, a guy with this much experience knows this, is that if he does get that opportunity down low as Simons and Moore make contact, that's going to allow Augie Grill to go up to the outside and take sixth. But I think the thing that Parker's got to be careful of is with all that horsepower, if he does get the chance to turn down underneath Eddy here, is to not hit the gas so hard that it's going to make that car break loose.
Right, and actually Travis Eddy pulling him a little bit on the straightaways as Parker is there on the rear bumper of Travis Eddy. Still 13 laps to go, and that's going to feel like an eternity for Travis Eddy with the challenge he has right behind him.
Man, I see why you love this division so much.
I think it's, and you mentioned the Bombers are my favorite class jokingly, but this class here is definitely among my favorites. The Tour Mods, everybody loves the Tour Mods. Everybody loves super late models. But these Florida Modifieds, a number of people kind of joke about them because the competition was low for a couple of years. But, man, it's really competitive in this class night in and night out.
And we really don't get to see this type of modified racing up in the Carolinas. You do see some up in Virginia around Langley Speedway and up in New England. And as you said, up in the upper Midwest and here in the deep South. But great race so far tonight here for these Florida Modifieds, and I'm so glad that this is now one. We're going to get to see a lot of this week
here. We're going to see another 6 nights or so of these Florida Modifieds, and they put on a great show with 10 more laps to go as Travis Eddy leads Wayne Parker, and they'll be 2 of the favorites for the championship this week and a chance to win a number of races. Eddy's won 2 of the last 3 Florida Modified championships. Wayne Parker was the champion of the track overall in 2019, and he won a number of races over the last few years at the World Series.
And, you know, it's just like we said to Brad May after the super late model race. For a guy like Wayne Parker, the last thing he wants to see is a guy like Travis Eddy come in here and beat him at this home racetrack that he runs so good at on a weekly basis at, you know, during the season here at New Smyrna Speedway.
8 to go. The leaders, Travis Eddy, Wayne Parker, they've built up about a 2.5-second advantage over third-place Tank Tucker, who, remember, restarted on the inside of row 1 on the last restart, but he's really fallen back as Wayne Parker giving it his all in that second spot.
Yeah, you saw Parker kind of try to get a little bit freer coming out of that corner in turn 4. But while he's doing that, Travis Eddy, not by much, but he is stretching that advantage. And again, Parker using all the racetrack he can coming out of those corners.
All it would take is one little mistake, and Wayne Parker would be right there, just 3 car lengths back on the exit of turn 2. But Eddie's not made that mistake at this point. He's been flawless on the last couple of restarts and leads right now. 5 to go for Travis Eddy.
And not that anybody, no matter how good you are, you know, you can't always avoid making a mistake, but it's a rarity with these two.
Wayne Parker holding a pretty wheel through 3 and 4 that time, right against that yellow line, and closed the gap down to a car length. There's Augie Grill, Timmy Moore. It's a battle now for the 5th position. Augie not moving forward all that much in this race, and Timmy Moore, they've kind of been running around 5th to 7th for the majority of the laps.
Timmy Moore, he's had an interesting race for sure in that car number 15 and running back behind one of the best short track racers in the country in Augie Grill.
I believe that 15 car was a Robert Deal driven machine for a number of years during the World Series, and the driver we used to see behind the wheel a lot, and now Timmy Moore behind the wheel of that 15 after driving the 57 for a number of World Series, including a championship. Final 2 laps. Going to be the white flag this time for the Michigan driver Travis Eddy. Parker trying to give it one last-ditched effort.
Good battle up front as Travis Eddy leads back into turn number 1. Wayne Parker, he is there as they come out of turn number 2 and head down the back straightaway for the final time. What's going to happen as they go back to turn 3, Adam Mackey?
He's won 2 of the last 3 championships at the World Series in the Florida Modifieds. With one hand out the window, he wins on night number 1 in the 2020 54th running of the World Series. Travis Eddy claims victory. Wayne Parker finishes in the 2nd spot. And it was a close battle between those two. Travis Eddy just slightly better tonight, but man, the field parity between those two. And don't be surprised if night number 2 tomorrow night, Jerry Simons is the guy to beat in the 66, or maybe Tank Tucker in the 15 is the one to beat. It changed up that much last year where Travis Eddy was dominant one night, thought he was going to win every night, and that wasn't the case. He did win the championship, but he had his work cut out for him with heavy competition every night of the World Series. We do have one final race yet to go tonight, the Bomber 20-lap feature. They'll get ready to go for our coverage here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. Fun night of coverage so far. Hopefully everyone out there enjoying it. 6th win for Travis Eddy in competition at the World Series as he takes off the helmet. Of course, everyone remembers all of the years of racing of Mike Eddy, the Polar Bear, and ASA competition, and Travis chip off the old block. Good race car driver. 30 years of age is Travis Eddy. He's raced Outlaw Super Late models. He's raced Modifieds the last number of years, and he's a good one. And he claims victory on night number 1 of the World Series as he finds victory lane at New Smyrna Speedway. It's chilly tonight, but he puts the beanie on. I don't think it's that cold, as we will now head trackside with Alan Dietz in victory lane.
Here comes Travis Eddy out of the car number 78 as he'll take the checkered flag on night 1 for the Florida Modifieds. And man, oh man, it got interesting. What a race out there tonight between you, Wayne Parker, just a whole bunch of drivers. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was a really good race, and I didn't know how good we were going to be, but once we got going, the car was great. And, you know, we put a lot of work into this thing, but it's always nice to come down and run with Wayne and Jerry and all them and be able to come out on top.
Now, you come down from Michigan, and we see so many drivers come from different parts of the country. How's the weather for you from what you're hearing up in Michigan?
It was kind of really hot yesterday when we got down here. It's a little chilly today, but it's still warmer than at home, and it feels a lot nicer for me.
Well, congratulations. We really look forward to watching you in these Florida Modifieds the rest of the speed weeks.
Thank you.
All right, Travis Eddy will take the win, and we'll work on back to our second-place finisher, Wayne Parker. And Wayne, Adam Mackey up top said if there's any guy that can spin out and come from the rear of the field and have a shot at the win is Wayne Parker. And looked like you just quite didn't have enough for Travis Eddy.
Travis is awful tough to pass. You know, we've had races here in previous speed weeks where I can start at the back and come all the way up to the front, and he just kind of lays out there and floats, and once you get to him, he hits full throttle and is gone. He's tough.
How much, for you as a local driver that it's so good here, how much that just eats you up to see that 78 in front of you?
It doesn't, because I flip burgers for a living, and he works on and drives race cars for a living. For me, it's a big accomplishment to be able to run nose to tail with him. You know, he's 25 years younger than me, and he has a lot more driving experience than I do. Travis Eddy is the cream of the crop. If you run with him nose to tail, you're going somewhere.
Good job.
Thank you.
So complimentary is Wayne Parker, and that's what makes this grassroots short track racing all over the country so great, is to see different drivers, different ages, different backgrounds come together to the race. Tank Tucker, another one of the locals here at New Smyrna Speedway. You'll come home with a third-place finish. What did you learn tonight that you feel like you can work on to maybe get up there and race with those guys later this week?
Yeah, from the middle out, we got to have some forward bite. We could have contended with Travis in the one car, but on that last restart, we was slowly losing it, and we just didn't have enough for in the end. But we got to work on our forward bite out.
For the folks watching on NBC Sports Gold that are not familiar with these Florida modifieds, how much fun are they? Because I'll tell you, it was a blast to watch this race tonight.
Well, you see me sweating. I was working my butt off. We're on 8-inch tires with 700 horsepower, 6 to 8. 7 pounds per cubic inch, but they're a handful. But when they're hooked up, they're fun.
Great job.
Thank you.
Tank Tucker, he'll come home with a third-place finish, and Adam Mackey, the Bombers, are coming up next. Try to hold your excitement back as we get ready for your favorite division.
Bomber 20-lap feature getting ready to come our way to close out night number 1 of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. Good action in our Florida Modifieds, good action in our Pro Late models. Those two races were pretty clean, and here's a look at the highlights from our recent 35-lap feature for the Pro Lates. Of course, that scary opening start for Zach Stacy, and look how close it could have been for Travis Eddy. He just squeezed through there on the outside lane. Well, this was after our second try, or actually on that original restart. We had the spin. Wayne Parker saw him go around, then he starts to rally through the field. Actually got some contact from Bill Burba. That's actually what sent Bill Burba out when he slid up into Wayne Parker. There's Jerry Simons in the 66, gets overtaken by Travis Eddy. It's for a battle in our top 5. Put him up into the second spot for a restart. And Zach Knowles, who chose the inside lane, had nothing for Travis Eddy. He and Tank Tucker went around to take first and second. Final caution, I believe, of the race there. The 4B of Bruns in 61 car. Brad Springer got together. And down the stretch, coming to the checkered, Travis Eddy with a hand out the window, sliding sideways across victory lane. Travis Eddy wins on night number 1. Wayne Parker said he works on race cars for a living, and I flip burgers for a living. I think that right there is the quote of the night so far. And I got to find a little more out about that story. Wayne Parker said he flips burgers for a living. I don't know if he works down the road at the burger joint or what the deal is, but he's a pretty good race car driver too. Alan Dietz joining me. I was going to try to get a word from him, but we'll let him gain his breath. There's a lot of steps to go up and down. They have an elevator here, but it's just a little bit on the slow side. So if he took the elevator, he wouldn't get back. The 20-lap bomber race would be over.
One thing we can't say here about New Smyrna Speedway is it's probably the slowest elevator since Noah built one on the Ark.
Yes, it's slow. It's state-of-the-art, but it's just a little bit slow.
That's kind of like me.
And it's only one floor, technically. I mean, it's a lot of feet, but it's only one floor. Track pass on NBC Sports Gold tonight. Alan Dietz, Adam Mackey, the coverage of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing.
Remember the first of 9 nights of racing here on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. The World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing here at New Smyrna Speedway. Now, I don't know if you have it memorized or not, but what will we be looking for tomorrow night whenever we come back here at 7:25 Eastern Time on Track Pass?
Same divisions, probably a few new drivers that join us tomorrow night, especially for the Sportsman, because they're going to be running a sanctioned race, 50-lapper, for the Wheelman Series. So the Wheelman Series will be the Sportsman race tomorrow night. It will go 50 laps. Their other divisions will see the same sort of lap counts and more great, exciting racing action. And I made mention when you were on your way down to do the Victory Lane interviews, don't be surprised if tomorrow night it's two different drivers at the front of the Florida Modified field battling for a victory. Different drivers battling for a super late model victory or a pro late model victory as well. And right there on pit road, they're lined up, they're ready to go, and we have 6 starters for our 20-lap Bombers. Now, the Bombers haven't been, the last couple of years, I don't believe, included in the local action here for the World Series, but they wanted to bring some of the local divisions out and say, you know what, it's our big week. We want to give you a chance to compete at least a couple of times during the World Series.
You know what, and that's the way it should be. You look at big events all over the country, whether it's the Oxford 250, whether it's the Knoxville Nationals, whether it's the Winter Showdown at Kern County Speedway, wherever you look at, it's the premier event maybe for that racetrack, but it's also a major event for these local divisions. And we joke around a little bit about the Bombers and stuff like that, but you got to start somewhere. You know, dirt late model racer Jonathan Davenport, I saw a tweet maybe a month or so ago of him driving a 4-cylinder at a dirt track, and it was about 20 years ago, and now look where he's at. And you can find stories like that with drivers from here at New Smyrna Speedway all the way up to Daytona.
It's a good beginner class for young kids that is economical. This one obviously looks like a class that they keep really close to stock. It doesn't look like the cars are souped up all that much. They knock out the interior, the windows, put in a roll cage, and go racing.
We could see Wesley Outlaw out there.
He could have his
Sparky or whatever.
Sparky. Throw a number on the side, knock the windows out, and go racing.
Yeah, Wesley Outlaw. What
that
they
was
call
a perfect nickname for a bomber driver. I think that instantly puts him among someone that could get a top 5 in this race coming up.
Oh, I agree. All right, let's take a look at a few more of our Twitter followers watching trackpass on NBC Sports Gold. Krista May says, staying warm in the garage, my roots watching New Smyrna Speedway World Series of Asphalt, thanks to NBC Sports Gold, #trackpass. Can't wait for the Florida Pro Truck Challenge Series on the 15th. Epic Ventures Racing, love the coverage, staying for the whole show. Great job, guys. #trackpass. Ryan Farrell, watching Travis Eddy work to cleanly pass the leaders was worth the watch tonight. Had clean restarts, worked different lines. People, that's how it's done. Never seen or heard of him before tonight. That's another great example of what's so great, too, about TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold. Throughout the year, you're going to get to see a lot of great race car drivers from all different aspects of racing that maybe you've never seen, maybe you've never heard of, and looks like he has made a fan tonight. Jen Brinson says, TrackPass, amazing coverage, lots of camera angles, replays, and great announcers. Hey.
They probably can hear the background, the PA audio or something.
Who knew? See y'all at New Smyrna Speedway tomorrow. Paul Reyes III also watching. JB, your annual reminder that Tank Tucker is probably one of the most bad A names a racer could have.
It is a pretty awesome name, I agree.
Jesse Vaughn watching, and lots of other folks, and we really appreciate all of you guys watching.
What do we got going on here?
Maybe a driver change.
They kind of look like, you know.
You remember...
see on the driver's side there, getting the window net buckled up, that's CRA official Greg Wood down here working with the Champion Racing Association staff, helping get the window net back up on that number 55. This number 55, by the way, is not on our starting lineup roster, so...
He's Wesley Outlaw.
I think it's Wesley Outlaw.
You know what? I almost thought if you look back at the early days of the Indy 500, they had riding mechanics. I thought maybe one of those guys were going to climb in and, you know.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Jimmy Black.
He's from Florida.
He is. He's going to start on the pole position. The 81 is Eddie Evans out of Port Orange. Dustin Higdon. We were in Port Orange last night, by the way.
They're both from Port Orange.
Yep. Dustin Higdon starting in the third spot.
Say this.
Ryan Warren starting in the fourth position.
Say where he's from. India Atlantic, Florida.
I'd say India Atlantic.
Yeah.
India Atlantic, Florida. And Jim Snyder from Edgewater, Florida in the 29, starting in the 5th position. And Wesley Outlaw starting in the 6th spot.
Boy, have we found a favorite for our folks at, Track Pass at NBC Sports Gold?
I think so.
I think it's Wesley Outlaw.
Scheduled to be a 20-lap feature for the Bombers tonight. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, checking out our coverage, logging on. And
for those of you still watching, thanks for not tuning out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy Wallace of NASCAR.
He was a big help here this afternoon and evening, getting us on and ready to go as we go green, coming down the front straightaway, and we're underway. The Bomber 20-lap feature at New Smyrna Speedway. Oh, look at this.
Whoa, watch out.
Oh, we got debris. It looks like a demolition derby has just been. It looks like a trailer race where there's just parts of vehicles and trailers all over the place. But amazingly, they all saved it.
And you know what? I bet they don't throw a caution.
Oh, no, let them run. Leading the way, the 9 of Jimmy Black. Well, he drove that in like 10 men down in turn number 1. This time he goes in a little bit smoother. The debris field is all over turn 1.
We're going to tell our directors really quick, too, whenever they get a chance, don't forget to show all the folks Wesley Outlaw. He's lost contact with the draft right now and falling back just a little bit.
First and second, a battle. Did you see that draft coming off the corner? It's X marking the spot. Dustin Higdon to the outside for the lead.
And you see Jimmy Black in that 9 car. You could see with that shot coming down the front straightaway, him looking up to the rearview mirror and actually looking to the right side of the car to see if the X car was going to pass him.
Oh, Wesley Outlaw brings out our first yellow.
I don't know if we're going yellow.
Yellow's out. See the lights flashing?
I just said yellow. Normally, whenever I'm streaming, I say yellow, but South Carolina comes out, the later it gets.
Yellow's okay.
I didn't say yeller. I didn't say yeller. I said yellow.
Oh, yeller. So we'll bunch them up, and in all seriousness, they were getting around here pretty good for what, little stock bomber-type cars. They're kind of scooting around this half mile. It's a big track for these guys. It's like a super speedway.
My one night of announcing here, which has been a lot of fun.
Just think we got 8 more nights to go.
Telling you, again, if Casey LaJoy was here,
he would be having a lot of fun tonight,
He would, too. And we would, too.
Jimmy Black, the leader.
I think we got a replay here. Nope, they're working it up for us.
Oh, here we go. That was quite a while ago.
This was the start. Watch going into turn 1 here.
And he sends it in deep. I was amazed at all the stuff that fell off that car. It ripped the whole rear bumper cover off. I think it was made of glass. Wiped the whole thing off.
Or maybe that was just paint.
Thick paint.
Hey, I just heard from NBC Sports Network and ARCA Menard Series East reporter Derek Pernasiglio saying we're doing a great job tonight, and he will be here for the coverage of the ARCA Menard Series East race on Monday, and you'll be able to hear it on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold and see it.
He gets to call the ARCA Menards East race. We get to call the Bombers.
Yeah,
so we're the lucky ones.
I think we need to get him while he's down here to help us out with that modified race, to do some pit reporting.
Tour-type modified opener for the World Series coming up on Monday night. Field starting to pick up the pace a little bit on the back straightaway. I'm not sure that they're going to be back in position by the time they get to turn 4. The pace car is going to pull off.
I think the pace car is racing with them right now.
And trying to get away from them so they don't bump draft him coming off of turn 4. Back underway, and we've completed 2 laps, 18
Watch
to go.
This.
You can
Watch
see
this.
the leader in the 9 actually look over to the right and say, uh-oh, he's still there.
All right, here's our draft going down the back straightaway.
Oh, going to let him know he's there. Just let him a little tap going into the corner. Back to the bottom of the track. He saw that Travis Eddy lane where he kind of diamond off the corner trying to make a run.
Watch our leader here looking right there.
Looking over his shoulder. No, it looks like they have a mirror in the car. I think they do run mirrors, surprisingly. To the inside. It's the X of Higdon. Nose to tail down the backstretch.
You know what? If you want to get really to the gist of this Bomber division, though, and again, in all seriousness, when NASCAR started their strictly stock division, granted those were V8 cars, but this is about the closest division you'll find here at New Smyrna Speedway this weekend to those old NASCAR strictly stock cars, or the concept behind it.
Front-wheel drive 4-cylinders scooting around this racetrack.
I said, okay, strictly stocks for rear-wheel drive V8, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, absolutely. No. I totally get what you're saying. Like the old, what we call the Detroit Iron Class back up in the Midwest. Knocked out the windows and
drove it home.
And pretty much put a license plate on it and drove it home. Higdon running second. Leading the way is Jimmy Black. Third place not far behind. It's really a 3-car battle with the front of the pack. The 29 within striking distance is Jim Snyder, who started in the 5th position, now completing 6 laps. We don't have timing and scoring. None of the transponders have been placed on the Bombers, so we don't have the live ticker across the top of the screen.
There we go.
There's our lap count. There's our live ticker right there.
Hey, and you know, when we first started going back to races, you didn't even have that at a lot of racetracks.
Still don't. Honestly, a lot of racetracks still don't have the scoreboard as we are nose to tail racing down the front straightaway.
I mean, you literally would watch the flagman to put up 10 fingers, 5 fingers.
Oh, here we go. Left the inside open, going to be 3 wide around Wesley Outlaws. They race down into turn 3. And, he closes
are we going to get some contact?
Oh, and more debris all over the place. That 9
and you know what? It came off with a 9.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of paint.
Flakes. Exactly. Look at it. It's still flying all over the place. Exactly what it is.
Whoa!
Around he goes.
I think he spun. I look at that. That's paint. Look on the racetrack there.
Oh, my gosh.
The color is pavement gray.
It's going to match the race. They're going to have to go out and sweep the racetrack after this one, all of the paint flakes that are left. As the 9 of Jimmy Black has brought out the yellow.
Look at it. Look at the front wheels spinning since, like you said, a front-wheel drive car.
Wow. 8 laps in, 12 to go, and the good news is we got a little replay.
Yep. Here we go. I think he just drove it in a little too deep.
Had her locked up.
Watch this left rear tire. Is it off the? No, not quite off the ground.
Still left some tire marks. Little 4-wheel drift down in turn 1 by the 9 car of Jimmy Black. So now the leader is the X of Dustin Higdon.
This is actually on my Twitter, by the way, at Real Alan Dietz. Jonathan Lester says, "Don't worry, I say yellow all of the time. Just ask Brian T. McLeod. Great coverage tonight. Hashtag trackpass."
It is good coverage, and this is just our first night. Wait till we get the rust knocked off.
Like I said, hopefully
that
we'll
might
make it
happen
that
by
far.
night 8.
Is Wesley Outlaw still out there? Yep, he's still out there.
Kind of laying back.
Yeah.
Has the long run set up in the car.
Yeah.
Only 8 laps in. Track hasn't come to him yet. Getting ready to go green. Pace car dropping pit side. Leader, the X of Dustin Higdon.
All right, now, who's that car on the outside again?
Hey, it's Jim Snyder.
Yeah.
Talked to a lot of folks in the pits earlier. They thought Jim Snyder was the car to beat today.
Well, you know, I talked to a lot of folks in the pits, and they thought Dustin Higdon was the guy to beat in that X car.
I think you could be right, because Dustin Higdon is the leader.
Now, Wesley Outlaw, you know, in the 55, if he wasn't down.
Sentimental favorite.
He is, but he's down a cylinder, and he's only got 2 left.
Well, that would be 2 cylinders, I think he was down. That's the 9 of...
No, he started with 3.
He started with 3. He's down 1 more.
Oh, here he comes.
Hey, Jimmy Black isn't done yet. His car is lighter after losing all of the paint, as he's back up to the 2nd spot, working by the 81 car of Eddie Evans. Eddie Evans, the pride of Port Orange, Florida.
Yeah, and Jimmy Black in the 9, he's the, according to our score sheet, the pride of Florida.
Didn't have a hometown listed for that X car.
Parts unknown.
But all of a sudden, I don't know if he knows this, But the 9 of Jimmy Black is right there behind him, and we're only halfway. 10 laps to go. Going to be 9 to go this time. And here comes the 9 of Black. Boy, he thought about sticking it in there, and that hole closed up a little too quick.
Now, you know what I think that car number 9 of Jimmy Black's going to have to worry about is with the paint chips coming off, is he going to fit the templates and meet weight?
Be interesting as we're side by side down into turn 3. Black backs off going into the corner, using that apron down there to help the car turn, rotate through the middle. X of Higdon on the outside lane. Going to regroup and set up another battle, probably letting the tires cool down for a half a lap.
Now, you'll notice that Jimmy Black in that 9, he's not looking in that rear view mirror right now.
No, he's not worried about what's behind him.
Steely focus right now on that X car in front of him.
What's
going for the lead.
On behind him is a battle for third. You see him on our double box.
Whoa, watch out, Jimmy.
Oh! Well, they paved it just wide enough down in turn 4.
That's right. They're coming up on the slower machine of Wesley Outlaw down the back straightaway, the leaders are.
4 cylinders, better than 2, going into turn 3. 6 laps to go this time at the stripe for Dustin Higdon.
I think that affected the leaders when it upset the air on the nose of Jimmy Black's car when they worked around Wesley Outlaw.
Black closing the gap on the X of Higdon. Going to be 5 to go this next time around, and Black is closing that gap.
I think he's setting him up here.
What kind of car is that in second? Like a Escort, like one of the newer Ford Escorts from years ago?
Well, I know the leader, I think, is
Cavalier.
a Chevy. Is it a Cavalier?
Yeah, Chevy Cavalier.
Now he's the one looking in his rearview mirror, and you know what Jimmy Black's saying? Hey, remember me?
He's going to be there to battle as we're going to be down to 4 laps to go. Black is there, up the track a little bit, loses a little ground.
Look at the focus.
You can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, I could see his eyes. Look at that camera work. I could see his feet almost.
Down in 1 and 2.
What do we got here?
3 laps to go this time. 17 in, 3 to go, Alan.
Yep. Wesley Outlaw, the leader's occasion.
Oh.
I think he's down to 1 cylinder.
Jimmy Black, something happened down in the middle of 3 and 4. Car went up the track, and he lost a few car lengths.
Oh, he's just laying back trying to get a run.
All of a sudden,
look at the 55 here. I think it's 1 cylinder. Look as the leaders go by.
Oh,
yeah.
Down another one.
Yeah.
Down to 1. Only has, looking like possibly a top 5. The X coming off of turn 4, Dustin Higdon. 2 laps to go. Higdon, most comfortable lead he's had for a while.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Black, I think losing that paint just upset the aero enough on that 9 car.
When he's in the draft, I don't think it hurt. He
No,
was able to avoid the air.
but whenever he
fell back, he
pulls out, it just it's like he hits a wall of air.
White flag is waving. Final lap for Dustin Higdon. Bomber 20-lap feature tonight at New Smyrna Speedway, our final feature of the night. Join us again tomorrow night for 5 divisions of racing action from night 2 of the World Series. 7:25 on air, 7:30 racing.
Look here,
He's
take
making
the call.
a final run. Jimmy Black to the inside, comes up just short. Onto the Ralph Miller final checkered flag of night number 1 as Dustin Higdon claims victory at the World Series.
And Adam Mackey now going to go down trackside and get a word with our Bomber winner. Here in our final main event of the night, the X of Dustin Higdon out of Port Orange, Florida. Again, don't forget another full night of racing action on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold here from New Smyrna Speedway tomorrow night. I think we start again at 7:25 Eastern. And again, it'll be the same divisions that you saw tonight, albeit the Sportsman cars. That will be a sanctioned race of the Wheelman Series, the tour for those Sportsman division cars in Florida and Georgia. great program NBC and NASCAR started last year. Grassroots Racing Tour. Remember, hashtag #MyTrackMyRoots. And remember, if you'd like to comment on tonight's broadcast, if you've got any questions or anything throughout the coming days, go to TrackPass on NBC Sports Gold. And also remember to catch us, hashtag TrackPass. And we'll
Dustin
take it down to
Higdon
Adam.
claiming victory in our Bomber 20-lap feature tonight. Dustin, you and Jimmy Black there in the second spot had a great run, kind of back and forth, beating and banging a little bit, trading some paint.
Yeah, we had a good run going there until we got by that lap car. I'm not sure what happened, but got in the right rear quarter. Kind of messed the handling up, but the cold track kind of helped it keep turning. So
Fun to get a chance to race here at the World Series, right? Fun to be a part of it in February.
yeah, when my dad used to race back in the 90s, they used to run like 3 nights, so it's nice to come back and at least get one shot at it. So, well, we appreciate them letting us run for sure.
Good run for you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dustin Higdon, a first-place run on night number 1 of the World Series. We'll make our way back to the second-place competitor in the 9. He put on a show for us here tonight. So we're back here with Jimmy Black in the number 9. Jimmy, get a word with you here. Jimmy, second-place run came up a little bit short, had a spin, wild race. You knocking off all kinds of paint off of this car. How'd you do that there?
Pretty good. That number X car was right behind my butt.
And then he got around you, and then you had to battle him. Did you think you were going to be able to beat him?
No.
He says no. Second place run for Jimmy Black in the 9. It was Jimmy Black in the 9 and Dustin Higdon in the X that put on the show tonight. Back up to you, Alan.
Man, a few words is Jimmy Black in that car number 9, but he can drive the wheels off of a bomber car. And I think Adam is actually going to head back now and get a word with our third-place finisher. We'll throw it back down to Adam.
Jim Snyder, a third-place run for this car. Up there for a while, you were battling with first and second, and then they were able to get away from you. The car go away a little bit?
Yeah, we lost a cylinder.
Lost a cylinder, and you didn't start with that many, right?
We started with 4, now we have 3.
So 75% isn't going to get it done.
Not today, no. We built this car in 9 days, so this little bug, we'll take it.
Not bad. You got to race at the World Series, right?
That's right.
Jim Snyder, a third-place run for the number 29. Makes the podium on night 1.
Thanks a lot, Adam. And again, thank you, everybody, for joining us here on NBC Sports Gold tonight. Just got a note from our good friend Steve Bullard. The NHRA back in action this weekend. Ron Capps, 339.28 miles per hour. He says the fastest driver in the world, not at Bonneville. Wow, what a run by Ron Capps tonight in Pomona, California. Hey, look, there's Mark Keeler. Mark, wave at everybody. No, but move back just look. There you go. That's our director, Mark Keeler. Well, y'all wave too. There we see Cody and Zach and Mel and Patrick. Yeah, Cody's not. Cody's here in spirit. But we have definitely had a good time, if you can't tell, and we're glad everybody here has watched. As you see some of the great action here on night 1 at the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing. Bobby Orr contact there with the wall. Wild race for the Super Late models. Fire from David Rogers' car after he hit the wall. Then this accident collected Ryan Moore, Augie Grill, and hard contact for Trey Bain. Sammy Smith taking the KVM Toyota to victory lane in night 1 for the Super Late models. Nicholas Noggle, the winner in the Pro Late models, and look at this contact for Mike Byer. And so glad that he is okay. Noggle coming out with the checkered flag in victory lane. Saw an awesome race in the Florida Modified Division. Got started off a little bit of a rocky start, a little bit of a rocky middle as well. But when it was all said and done, Michigan's Travis Eddy taking the win. And then we wind it all up tonight with the epic battle between Dustin Higdon and Jimmy Black that's going to have everybody talking here tomorrow night. And Dustin Higdon coming home with the checkered flag and a lot of emotion down there, Adam.
Yeah, he was pretty thrilled. And
how about Jimmy?
Jimmy was kind of speechless.
I don't think he could have put it any better. We're going to have another great night of racing action here tomorrow night at New Smyrna Speedway on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. As we said, Super Late Models will be racing along with the Pro Late Models, Florida Modifieds. I believe the Bombers coming back.
Actually, we're going to do Mod Minis tomorrow.
Oh, Mod Minis will be here instead of the Bombers, and the featured race will be the Wheelman Series 30 or 50 laps here tomorrow night from New Smyrna Speedway. Great night so far, Adam.
Yeah, great week so far. You know, we've got practice in yesterday before the rain hit. Great day of racing tonight. Got a little rough start with the first couple races. Had some accidents in the first couple laps of those two races that tore up some equipment. Then after that, it was kind of smooth and, had some good racing.
Definitely a good night to get started here, night one of the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing here at New Smyrna Speedway. For Adam Mackey and the entire crew here with Track Pass on NBC Sports.